This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. I think we're live. Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Safari Live. I have a problem with my communication device. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by. Sorry, everyone. Hello. Yes, I'm just struggling a little bit there. I think we're okay now. You're watching a live safari on the internet. Most of you will know that, of course. My name is James Hendry. We've got Fergus Jazz Hands Clark on camera. Really? Okay. Right, there we are. And a special guest on the back of the vehicle with us today, Shivani, is going to be telling us about the work she does with lions up in the north of Kenya. That is, if we find some lions today. We had some earlier down sort of in that direction, the Salt Lick Pride, and we're hopefully going to pop across and see them and see if they haven't killed something during the course of the day or if they've just been lurking around sleeping. Very clever pride of lions. They lurk around there basically waiting for the herds to come to them during the day, and then at night they go and hunt them. Also out today, Brent Smith, fresh back with a tan from Diani Beach on the east coast of Kenya. Is it the east? Yes, it is the east. And he will be telling you, bits and pieces about his holiday, of course, in Kenya. Yes, thank you, Jazz Hands does not have a west coast. Of course it doesn't. Right, and then also in South Africa, I think we have Tristan still on his own. He'll be joined by Taylor tomorrow afternoon, so his time as a lone bull elephant will end. Good. And the other thing I need to tell you, yes, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is the best way to ask us questions. It is not the only way. In fact, it's not even the best way. There are two ways. There's hashtag Safari Live, and then, of course, there is the chat stream using the YouTube feed. The chat stream using the YouTube feed. YouTube chat stream. I'm very, very dishevelled mindfully this afternoon on account of the fact that I have managed to have such a problem with my communication devices. I do apologise for that. My plan now is to head down towards the Salt Lick, and we are going to link across to somebody who is probably speaking with a lot more clarity than I am, and that is Tristan.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari from the northeastern corner of South Africa. It's a very warm, hot day here. You can see there are some stripy zebras just down the road. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I have got Sebastian, and, well, it's going to be a very warm start to the day. I think it's a hot wind blowing. It's been very warm the whole day, about 33 degrees or just about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so it really is quite hot, and it means that a lot of the animals are probably looking for shade. Now, a special thank you to all of you that tagged me in the elephants from the dam cam earlier. So that does show you that it is live, it is interactive, which means that you can use hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or the YouTube chat should you want to ask any questions or let us know if anything else comes past the dam during the course of the afternoon. I would imagine there will be quite a few animals making their way to water given how warm it has been today. At least there is a bit of a breeze blowing now. Earlier today there wasn't too much. Now our zebras seem as though they're not too fazed by what's going on. They're taking it very easy and are not in the shade at all actually at the moment. They were sitting right out in the open and they're feeding off an area that's just been mowed recently, and I wonder if maybe the shorter grass, I can actually see a few little green shoots coming through. We had a bit of mist and dew over the last few weeks, and with a bit of mowing there might be a few little green shoots that have come in, and that's going to be far tastier than the dry drab grass that is also around at the moment. So you'll find the zebras will make use of that. They're one of the first animals that will go anywhere where there's cut or burnt grass. As soon as there's a bit of rain on those sort of sections, you'll find that there's a bit of growth, and the zebras are one of the first animals to arrive on the scene to make use of that very short grass. They like short grass, and like some of the other animals here, things like kudu and nyala and those kind of things will prefer longer grass areas, whereas these guys more short grass with the wildebeest. Now, it's part of the reason why we don't see as many zebras or wildebeest as we would in East Africa. So the habitat just doesn't really suit them. There's a lot of long grass areas with thick, dense bush, and it's not ideal for these animals, not only because of the way that they feed, but also because of the fact that those all house predators. And if you can't see a predator, it's a big problem if you're a prey species, because, well, you get ambushed and that's the end of that. But I'm just trying to see if this is our group of stallions or if this is just a small fraction of another herd that we see in this area. We do get a herd of a couple of females and young ones, but in this particular time of the year we should see some of those young ones still with mom. We shouldn't see them by themselves, so I think it is just a bachelor grouping, or like I say, it could be a split of some of the females without young ones and a stallion that is with them, because there's definitely a stallion in the front of all of them, not that one, the one right at the front, and then I can't see nicely what the other three are. The only really way to sex a zebra is to really look under its tail, and I don't mean to look at its genitals, because that's not directly under the tail. What they do have is they've got a black stripe that runs between the back legs. So in a female it will be a very thick, broad black line, whereas the females will be a pin stripe line on the male. Right, now I believe the golden brown tanned Leo Smith is back from his little jaunt to the coast, full of stories, I would imagine. So let's go across to him so he can say hello to all of you and tell us what he's been up to over the last week.
Hello, hello, hello! Isn't it amazing? This morning I was staring at a beautiful blue Indian Ocean, and now I'm staring at some zebra and wildebeest in the golden Maasai Mara. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I've got Manu on camera, and we're on the hunt for some big cats. Now, what a difference. Oh, I'm causing a roadblock. What a difference a week makes. On a Saturday, whoopsie, where's the car? I can't see. Rear view mirrors. We have none. There we go, let me just get off the road. So what a difference a week makes. On Saturday, well, almost a week. On Saturday, this area was completely covered in wildebeest and zebra, and the Egyptian goose pride of lions were hunting them. And now we've got a few stragglers. Now, chatting to my good friends James Shuka Hendry, who's heading down south, where he says there's larger groupings of wildebeest and zebra. Well, we're going to start meandering down south. We're probably not going to go as far as James, but remember, if you want to ask us any questions about this magnificent ecosystem, you can do that by using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. Okay. So this is the exact area where we had the lions hunting last Saturday. And I'm hoping maybe they haven't meandered too far. But again, not a huge amount of wildebeest and zebra that were here on Saturday. Just a few stragglers. But the one thing I find absolutely fascinating and wonderful about the migration is that literally over that next little hill, there could be 200,000 of them. So we're going to go over the hill to find out. Yes, so this morning we were on the beach, and by midday we were back in the Mara. It was an unbelievable, it's an unbelievably beautiful spot. We got to see some monkey species you don't see here, more forest-based monkeys, the Sykes monkey and the black and white or Gazera colobus monkeys. So very, very cool. I did try a spot of fishing, and fortunately it was quite dismal. The sea was quite rough, so we had to turn back early from the fishing expedition. And thank you for everyone who's welcoming me back. It's great to be back in the bush. Always been more of a bush than beach person. It's nice to visit the beach, but I definitely prefer living in the bush. Okay, so always check very carefully in this area. Now, the Egyptian gooses like to lie up and around on these ridges so they can spot any hapless wildebeest that might be heading their way. Now, I'm I'm heading south on the eastern side of the Mara. I think James, I'm not sure actually, he either went straight down this road, straight towards the Salt Lick area where there's that beautiful big pride of lions, or he's gone down the western side. Let's go find out which.
Mercifully, I'm heading straight for the Salt Lick because, of course, down the western side, as we have discovered, there is no signal. So we're going straight down towards the Salt Lick, just over this next ridge. And we had the most wonderful drive this morning, which unfortunately we're unable to broadcast for various reasons. But basically, if we look straight over the top of my head, there we are. And that's it. That's the sort of forest that surrounds the Salt Lick, and we just basically went all the way to the right-hand side of where you're looking there, around over the ridge, down towards the escarpment to the west. And it was just the most beautiful drive, despite the fact that the wind was howling. This mercifully seems to have stopped. Now, the reason I don't have my natty leather hat on is because it just blows upward in the wind. And, well, the return of the cap doesn't seem to be necessary today. Does it, Fergus?
I got my hat on too.
Yes, you do. Very nice. Fergus took his hat off, and along with it, about 500 pieces of equipment that he had attached to his face in order to broadcast and hear what's going on. We won't worry about that. And once again, I've come out here thinking, I do hope that the storms are not going to build today. And once again, they're starting to build all over the place. And hopefully we will find a dry spot. We've certainly managed to do that of late. And what's interesting, from a herd point of view, let's us have a look at the sooty chat quickly. Hello, sooty chat. How are you? Really? What else? And the lions? Ooh, just down there, eh? Goodness. Now, you probably can't hear him because our ambient microphone is currently attached to the person of Shivani, who's going to talk to us later. But this little chat is singing so beautifully. It sounds like the kind of call that is imitating. I think he's imitating various other birds around here. I don't know them well enough yet to tell you what he was imitating, though. So what I was saying about the herd is that, or the herds, they have moved south from this area down into an area to the south of the Salt Lick and over the Tanzanian border. But that does not mean that they have gone there permanently. It does not mean that their time in the Mara Triangle is finished at all. They will almost certainly come back up north. There are certainly still some in the north. Scott went past a large grouping around the marsh on the National Reserve side of the river this morning. And so they will almost certainly come back up to the
So the Egyptian goose pride tend to like these murrum pits. We do apologize about that. We are coming to you live from the middle of Africa. So sometimes we do have the odd technical hitch. Well, I thought I'd find some lions around here. Alas, no luck. So there's a third one, and I actually found the pride that we had on Saturday at the first one. So I'm just going around checking. Now, as we're quite far away from the river up here on the ridges, there are some natural seeps, but there aren't a lot of areas that have a lot of water. So I'm hoping that the lions are all, well, thirsty, for one. And another reason they tend to hang about where there's a bit of water is as the migration moves through the different areas, they often will quench their thirst at those particular spots, and the lions wait in ambush. Now, of course, the lions aren't the only fat creatures around at the moment, and I've seen some. Oh, don't fly away. which vultures have we got here? Have we got Ruppel's griffins, the world's highest flying bird? Same height as a commercial jumbo jet? Or do we have the slightly lower flying white-backed vulture? And just try and get on the right side of the light for everyone. Oh, it's quite difficult in silhouette. Oh, I think it might fly, so let's take a safety shot first. I can't really see which one there. As I said, quite difficult in the silhouette, but I think I'm trying to see any yellow on the beak. I know what it is. I know what it is. Do you know what it is? Hashtag Safari Live if you know which vulture this is. It is quite tough in that light. I will try to get us a bit of a closer, better look. But which vulture is sitting in the Balanites tree? Let's try to sneak a bit closer. Now, Tristan seems to think he is going to find a leopard before I found a lion. I wonder if he doesn't know exactly where a leopard is. Aha, there we go. As it flies away, there might be a hint in the flight. Now, at the moment, the vultures' crops are so full of wildebeest, and especially when you've got lions that are killing multiple wildebeest, they're not even feeding on them. It's an absolute delight if you are a carrion-eating bird or scavenging bird, because there's just food everywhere. Now, often in the Sabi Sands, when you see a group of vultures in a tree, it is a very good omen, because you might find some lions on a kill. But out here during the migration, it often turns out that there's definitely something dead there, but the lions are long gone and just abandoned the carcass, and the vultures are taking advantage. Well done, Thimak, you were spot on indeed. A white-backed vulture. That is what it was. Now, James is over there somewhere in that area. That's where the salt lick is, so we higher. And there were a lot of wildebeest and zebra in this area last week. But it is amazing how a few days, a little bit of local rain around, and they're all gone skis. Well, there's a few around, not many. And I said, we're going to go check the water for some rhions. And we have a lone gnu in front of us. Hello, gnu. Can you explain to me where you've all gone and why? I would love to know. You don't look like a particularly intelligent gnu, though. I think you've lost everyone. You have no clue what is happening out there. Haven't you? Here you go, Mr. Lonely Gnu. Yes, here we go. As Louise says, his GPS is broken. No wildebeest around him, just the odd zebra. All on his lonesome. Ooh, hello, what have we got over there? Some zebras. Just the one wildebeest and some vultures on the ground. We're not quite at the spot where I think the lions might be. Very interesting. I don't know if what's quite going on James Shuka Henry's vehicle, but it sounds like he's found a friend of a wildebeest. Wonder which one.
No, I think we've just found some wildebeest, everybody. We're in amongst a herd. And what we're going to do is look down towards into this marsh, because there's a line of them walking to exactly where that lion pride was this morning. And I wonder if we're not going to have action almost immediately. Just get my bearings. Oh no, they're the other side. They're having a drink there, and I have to ease my way down the hill here because our signal could easily drop here. what we'll do is just stop on the top here and have a look down. Gee whiz, I mean, those wildebeest are not far from the lions. That male lion, I think, is sat in exactly the same place he was this morning. All right, Ferg, you give it a scan. I'll get the binoculars out. I can find them. Where did I put them? So yes, that's a giraffe. All right, you got a lioness? Same place?
Similar, she's just to the left of the giraffe.
Yes, looking at the wildies. I mean, there's a large herd down having some water there. A couple more up this side. Oh, there are the two males. Can you see the two males? If you scan, yeah, they're just to the far left in the marshy area. Flat on their sides. So these chaps are all going down to have a drink and all heading down towards where those lions are. And our responsibility here is going to be to find the best possible signal for whatever action could kick off here. I have my suspicions, though, that if this kind of drinking has been going on all day, that these lions may have whacked one or two already. There certainly doesn't seem to be much in the way of fear exuding from the general sort of, what should we say, from the aura, I suppose, of this, the vibe that these wildebeest are giving off. Have you seen the two males, Ferg?
No.
All right. So if you where are you pointing the camera? If you scan to the left from there, far in on the marsh there. Yes. Yes. Now if you go right from there, slowly, slowly, and keep going, and stop. And now I've lost the male. Where's the female? Ah, there they are. Okay, you know where the female is. Grab the female. You've lost her too, haven't you, Fergus? No, there. Zoom in there, and to the left of where you are now. There's the female, left a bit from there. Keep going. Keep going. Can you see them? Keep going. There they are.
Oh, there.
Sure. So they're the males. What we're going to do is try and get into a sort of closer position with some signal. While we do that, I think we're heading across to Tristain, are we? Alright, sorry about that with Juma. What we're going to do is try and get a little bit closer here and see what happens. Like I say, our signal may or may not last. I think we'll probably go in along here. Alright, I believe that the Druma gremlins have been defeated. That's good. Let's go back to the swimming elephants.
I apologize if we had a few gremlins there, and James says that we managed to defeat them. Well, I would imagine didn't really do anything. Maybe it was Seb on the back that just did a little karate chop and got rid of them. But how cool is this? There's a whole herd of elephants is now starting to come into the water, and I'm sure we're going to get a very playful group that's going to have the best swim ever. It's hot, it's warm, and it is perfect conditions for a group of elephants to have the most fun in a waterhole. Now, I'm sure it's the same group of ellies that we had this morning. The reason why is that their tracks go here and then they cross south, and these elephants have come from the south back north again. So what I think they've done is they've just fed along the Mulawati, used the shade, and now they're coming back into this area to be able to have a really good bath. But you can see, look how they sit down. Even the big adults, they sit there and they get completely in so that they can cover themselves and try and cool that body down as quick as possible. It always looks as though they have the most fun when they swim like this. And we haven't had too many big herds of swimming ellies. We've had lots of males, but not too many of the big ones. You can see the little one is on top of mom. How cool. You guys are all too much of fun. This is the most special thing to watch when ellies swim like this. I absolutely love it. And you can see more and more and more of them are arriving. They're starting to come over from the back end there. There's some coming over the dam wall, and they're slowly but surely filtering in. There's one or two that are being chased away by some of the naughty males. There comes another one. In it gets. Justin, you're wondering if elephants sink or float? Well, Justin, they will probably, for the most part, they do sink. So in deep water, if they wanted to, they would sink. But if they take a deep breath like us as humans, there would be enough air in those lungs to be able to allow them to actually be somewhat buoyant. But as the oxygen is cycled through the body, so they'll start to sink. The thing is ellies can swim. So ellies are able to swim if they want to. You'll find they'll be able to cross rivers and varying other things. And there's actually some incredible footage of Indian elephants swimming or Asian elephants swimming across some of those river channels in that part of the world. And I would imagine our ellies were just as good at that. What I've noticed here, though, in this part of the world is most of our elephants don't actually swim. They try and just walk along the bottom, and they just flop down where they want to. So they try to stay in areas that are shallow enough that they can flap down. Charles, you saying, yay, I am the elephant whisperer. Well, I don't know about that. I think I've just been getting lucky, and it's more just to do with the fact that we've had the most amazing weather conditions for elephants. So it's been warm, which means that ellies spend a lot of time around water, and so we just check the water holes, and luckily enough, the ellies are there. So it's more the ellies doing all the work. I've just been lucky at being in the right place at the right time, and that's how it works out here, is that sometimes you will have these weeks where you just have ellies abounding all over the place, and you got to be sort of in the right, like I say, right place, right time, and you get lucky and you get to see sightings like this. So it's not really just me, it's just the fact that we got the right road and at the right time of day. But that brings me on to our challenge that I have with Brent. Now, I feel like I've been sold down the river slightly by Brent Leo Smith, because he says that we have inside information here. That is true of some of the sightings, but not all of them. We most certainly have tracked our own fair share of leopards this week, and, well, Brent Leo Smith, I think you're about 12 down in the week that you've been away. I don't know how many leopard sightings we've had this week, but I can tell you it's a lot more than what you've had while you were at the... Not been too bad this week as well, not that they compared to the Mara. And as for inside info, I'm pretty sure that you guys get your own amount of inside information through varying sources there, particularly with the Cheetah brothers with a collar on the one of them. So I think it's all fair is fair, and we most certainly, I think he's just a little jealous over the fact that he can't get off his vehicle and track like we can here, and he's missing tracking the leopards of Tumba. That's what I actually think it's all about. But most certainly Brent's got a long way to go to catch up if he wants to get to the same number of leopards that we've seen by the end of this week. Okay. So you might be forgiven to thinking that was a fire siren going off in the background, but it wasn't. It's a little one that wanted to suckle, and Mom decided to move off, and the little one was most upset that Mom has thought about even thinking that this little one was done drinking, and so has made a bit of a noise about it. Oh, you guys are having the best time. Oh, she's still going. poor mom is having to sit in the sun and suckle this little one because it's just not taking no for an answer. I just love it when the young males get into the water because that's when it really gets quite chaotic. They have the best time. Somebody is very grumpy. That is what is called temper tantrum, and what happens, I'm sure Seb, you'll attest to this, when kids get hungry, they start to complain a little bit, particularly when they're babies. Yes, so our little elephant is having a little temper tantrum behind us. Of course, these guys are not perturbed in any way. They're still busy swimming at this stage. What are you doing on your knees now? This is so cool. It's the best thing when we get ellies making noises around us. I love the sounds that they make. You can see that they have a very, very broad array of vocalizing that they can do. You'll hear trumpets and squeaks and grumbles and all kinds of sounds as they try and communicate with one another. So it's quite cool just to be in amongst them. And we've had such a good display of their audio over the last few weeks. We've had some crazy sightings with lots and lots of different noises coming from the ellies, from, like I say, the grumbles to the squeaks and all the other kinds of sounds that they make. Now, Ellie, you're wondering if our ellies will be able to breathe with their trunks when they're underwater, so that basically the trunk acts like a snorkel. Most definitely, Ellie, they do use that regularly as a snorkel, so they will basically put their trunk up when they're underwater, and that allows them to breathe and to play around. And you see it particularly with the bull elephants. When they go into places like Chitwa Dam, that's quite deep, you'll see them go right under and just a trunk sticking up. And the place that I've seen it the most is actually at Chobe National Park, where they swim across the rivers there, and so they'll go so deep that all you can see is this tiny little trunk sticking out of the water source as they breathe and walk their way along to the islands that are there that are covered in grass, and that's what they're after. But look at how white and clean his tusks are now. They're almost so bright that they're overexposing on the camera in comparison to the dark skin that's all wet. So it's always cool when you see ellies that have swum. Their tusks are bright and clean and white, and their skin is dark, and the contrast between the two is always very cool to have a look at. Right, I think now that our ellies have stopped swimming, I'm going to try and just turn and follow them around, because it seems as though they're going to go and have a little bit of a feed, so we might as well just keep up with the herd. I don't think any of the others are going to come down to drink or swim. The rest of them are on the road there. It looks as though they're actually going towards Treehouse Dam, as though they're doing dam hopping this afternoon. I wonder if maybe that's a thing in the elephant world. So instead of going to different clubs, you go to different water holes as an elephant. Maybe that's, like I say, a thing for them. Now, there's a giraffe as well. That's cool. There we go. So we've got an elephant herd with a very tall friend that is attached to them at the moment. As well, they saw the giraffe and got a little bit upset and pushed him off. Now, it could also be because there's a huge jackalberry here, and the jackalberry sometimes will fruit. I think this particular one might just be finishing fruiting now. I remember fruiting a few weeks ago, so there might be one or two fruits, and that's potentially what these giraffe are actually feeding on at the moment. You can see it's chewing something there. It spat out something, which could have been the skin of that particular jackalberry fruit. But it's watching the elephants go by as if to say, what is going on? The noisy neighbors have arrived. There goes an elephant and the giraffe. We've had some cool sightings today with the ellies. So not only have we had... Oh, here we go. There goes fight time. Well, the complaining continues and the games continue. And so while we stay with our ellies and enjoy this, let's go back to Brent Leo Smith and see what excuse he's going to make for still not being able to find the cats.
Tristan, I don't need excuses. I was finding cats when you were still at school, my boy. Actually, what is that now? Very interesting. So we found the masses, Now, unfortunately, they're quite far south. Man, if you keep coming, it looks to be dust. I'm not sure whether it's from a vehicle or maybe lions are chasing wildebeest. It could be from a car, though. I think it is from a vehicle, unfortunately. And I was hoping that the Egyptian goose pride might be up here. Now, you can see how far away from that those actually are. It is a car, I think, I fear. Alas. Now, even further south, you can see there's a little bit more green grass, and that is actually just inside Tanzania. And James is just off to the right of that area. But it seems like a lot of the wildebeest are down here. And there's some absolutely magnificent fig trees up here. And I was hoping that, well, if I was a lion, it's where I'd choose to have a snooze under these big fig trees. Oh, there's a big eland bull just to the right there. There he is. Hello, big boy. Keeping a close look on us. Now, the thing is that even though those wildebeest are so far away, it's amazing that we can hear that. It's very soft, very quiet, but we can still hear the canoeing of the canoes. Now, let's go have a look. We've got 2 more trees to check. Hi, Karen. Karen's wondering, do I think the lions ever get sick and tired of eating wildebeest? I don't. I don't think they would. If the wildebeest were here all year, I think they'd be very, very happy about that. Now, we do have a few wildies up here on the left in zebra, but these trees are often referred to as the picnic trees. So if you're out on an all-day safari and you're getting a bit peckish, this is one of the spots you're allowed to jump out of the car for a leg stretch and a snackaroo. But with the lack of trees, particularly in this area, it isn't uncommon to find the big cats utilizing them for a little snooze spot. See, unfortunately, if I was a lion, I'd be in that valley down there. And that is a valley of gremlins for us, I'm afraid. But we do have our second vulture species of the day, the Ruppel's griffin, the world's highest flying bird, and can fly at about 32,000 foot, the same height as a commercial airliner. Now, when you get to the peripheries of the wildies like this, it's quite often nice to see what's around, like the vultures, and it gives you an idea of what's been sort of going on. But it is, apart from, I think you guys are not going to be able to hear it, and there's some more up on the top. Now it's amazing, I've moved off the top of that ridge and I cannot hear the wildebeest anymore. It is so incredibly silent. I'm just going to keep quiet. I can hear one grasshopper, that's about it. It is so quiet. Which is one of those strange things, because when you're in the Mara and you're around the migration, you often it's just a cacophony of noises. Zebras, then stamp noise. So it's always, for me, I find quite nice sometimes to just sit in these areas when you're a little bit away from the migration and just listen. It's incredible how silent it can be. Now, where to next, Ryons? Because I can't go down there. But it seems like at least I still have a fighting chance, because Tristan is still fiddling about with another one of our favorite animals, of course, the African elephant.
Well, for us, where to next is a big female elephant that is slowly but surely coming past us. Hello, girl. Oh, that is wonderful. Look at her just going past ever so slowly and so relaxed as well. We have been so spoiled with Ellies the last few days, and just how relaxed the herds are is what's been fascinating. Generally you find elephants will spend time around you and they will be a little bit cautious of where the car is and not really come too close, but lately the herds have been so relaxed and they've really, on their own accord, as you can see, we're not parked close to them, but slowly but surely they just walk straight to where we are, and as if to come and cool is that? This part of the world where we've got some of the biggest elephants out here that are around us in every direction, and to be able to... So, sorry, I apologize, there's apparently a bit of a freezing picture, but what I was saying is basically that it's an incredible experience to be in amongst these elephants. The Kruger elephants are known to be quite large, but it just goes to show you, if you give them space and you park and you quiet, that actually elephants aren't as bad as everyone makes them out to be. They will come past, they're relatively quite gentle, and only if you really drive right into the middle of them and you cause a disturbance do they get upset, or if there's an external factor. Now, the other thing with elephants is that the nice thing is that they generally give you a nice sign that they're upset long before they ever get close to us. So you'll find none of these animals would have come anywhere near us. They would have been flapping their ears, they would have been trumpeting, there would have been all kinds of displays going on. They would have indicated to us, now you guys are a problem and you need to get out of here, whereas these elephants, as you can see, on their own accord have walked from far all the way past us. They haven't flared their ears once, they haven't even really acknowledged our presence. They might have just looked at us and given us a bit of a beady eye. Completely unfazed, and I'm very surprised by their behavior today of all days because of the wind that we've got. I'm sure you can hear there is a wind blowing at the moment. Now that wind generally unsettles elephants a little bit. You find when it's windy days, the Ellies are not huge fans of it. They don't really like it because they can't hear as nicely, and they tend to get a little bit more uncomfortable about things and move around a lot more. Whereas today, for some reason, they're just taking it very easy, and it could be because it's quite warm. It's the first hot day that we've had in months, and it might have just taken them a little bit by surprise, and they're feeling a little bit lethargic today as they walk around in this African heat. I think at around midday it got to 34 degrees, which I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but I would imagine it's well over 90. So it's a hot day when you consider that we're in winter months. August is still deemed as a winter month. We're not even in our spring yet, and we're pushing 90 degrees. So it is getting quite warm, and maybe the Ellies are feeling it a little bit, and that's why I say they're a little bit lethargic. Now, these two over here are our two youngsters that were messing around at the back of the herd just now. They were the two that were in the water and then were subsequently chasing each other. And actually it was very funny. They came rushing past us, almost trotting, chasing one another, and then one let out a little sort of passing of wind and dropped a dart, and they all just stopped as if to say what just happened, and then carried on running after each other. It was very funny. We did have a good chuckle, Sebastian and myself. Now, Dan, you want to know how we tell the difference between male and female elephants? So, Dan, when they're younger like this, a little bit tougher, it's not as easy to tell, but you can already tell that that's a young male from two reasons. One, if you look at the tusk shape, quite broad tusks already. You'll find that females tend to have much more narrow tusks than that. Secondly, you'll find that his head is quite rounded in shape. So when you look at the head, I'm talking about the forehead, as it comes from the ears and is going sloping down towards the eyes area, that will be very rounded. On a female elephant, it would be almost angled off and squared off, and so that's probably the easiest way to tell between male and female. You'll also find that the males is or 200-pound calf inside them, and that means that they need a little bit of extra space, and so their spine is slightly longer than what the males is. You'll also find the males have much longer front legs than the females, even at a young age. So those are the kind of things that I use to tell the difference between them. oh, what are you digging for? You can see he's using his feet to try and get a root up there. So this is what they'll do at this time of the year. They'll be looking for roots and bulbs and all kinds of things that might be under the surface of the soil, and they use their feet to dig. Their feet are actually very good for digging, particularly the back part of the foot. The back part has got a slight little ridge on it, and so they can get it in underneath the roots, and then they use that incredible strength to pull back and snap the roots, and then they can wrap their trunk around it and pull up and get the root system that they're looking for, or the tuber that was buried inside that area. There you go. You see the adult female? There, she's done it. She's broken it, and now she's using her trunk to pick it up, and she'll then start to feed off that. There we go. And bush willow roots are one of their favorite that they go after. Chewy, you're wondering if elephants ever migrate, and if so, how far? Well, in this particular system that we're in the Kruger National Park area, the elephants don't migrate. They've got what's called home ranges. Now, those home ranges are fairly fluid, so it will mean that these animals will have a certain area that they call home, but if in times where there's a lot of rain and there's a lot of resources, then they won't move as far, or in times of drought like we had last year and a bit this year, they will extend those home ranges to try and find food in order to survive. So no huge migration that takes place in the Kruger Park anymore. They used to migrate. It's believed that the elephants from this area used to migrate up to Tanzania and back again. That no longer happens, unfortunately, because of the amount of human settlement between there and here. Obviously, elephants don't mix well with humans. They're big, they're bulky, they eat a lot, which means crops and varying other things are destroyed, and people are petrified of elephants, and so you get human-wildlife conflict. And that means that the elephants have been confined into certain reserves throughout that system, and so those migration patterns are no longer happening. Outside of that, within the rest of Africa, the elephants in Botswana do a bit of a movement. They'll go from the salt pans in Etosha and Naipans to the Bateti River, much the same as some of the zebra. Just movement of zebra and wildebeest in Africa. So that goes from, like I say, Naipan's system to Bateti River, and there will be movement of elephants from those two systems as well. There's a little bit from the Chobe National Park down into the Delta, so you'll find them go spread out throughout the Chobe Park in the southern sections, and then as it gets dry, they then start pushing up northwards back to the Chobe River itself. But that's about the only movements, and again, those are more home range movements than there are migrations anymore. Unfortunately, because of being big animals, their migrations are not really as frequent as what they should be, because of the fact that humans have taken over huge tracts of land, and it means the ellies don't really have the same amount of space to walk. But you can see now that they've drank and they've had a bath, they're all into the trees and having some food. So Lily, who's 7 years old, you want to know, Lily, why do elephants have wrinkly skin? Well, Lily, it's a very, very, very clever system for an elephant to have a wrinkly skin, because what it does is it makes the elephant's skin bigger. So what it says is that the surface area of the elephant's skin, as that's the word, is the surface area, is more, which means that the elephant can give off more heat.
Right, quite suddenly we're live, everybody. Unfortunately, the picture froze, and, well, let me introduce you to Shivani. You may speak now.
Hello, everyone.
Shivani, this is your first appearance on camera, is it?
In the Mara, yes.
In the Mara,
and
but
live,
and
definitely.
live. Right,
yes.
good. Well, welcome.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
Starting with your surname, which has gone out of my head.
My name's Shivani Bala, and I work up in northern Kenya on a lion conservation project called Ewasa Lions. I'm here because I'm a National Geographic explorer, and I'm also a Big Cats Initiative grantee. And I've been with James now since yesterday, although it feels much longer because we've seen so much. And
I'm
it's
glad
been
that's
amazing.
why it feels longer.
That's how long it feels for me.
It's been a great couple of days with animals everywhere. So yeah.
And the biggest difference between the area you're from, which is Samburu, right?
Yeah.
Up in the north of,
Up in
north
north.
of Kenya, is what? What is the biggest difference?
I think There's many differences, James. I think, well, one, the wildlife density here is pretty spectacular. There's animals everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we bump into lions every half an hour, every 20 minutes. We drove around up the ridge for the last 2 days, and we keep bumping into the same lions who don't really move here. And that is a big difference to Samburu, where you have to go for a long time to see lions, and you have to travel huge distances. And then the vegetation. This is very open, and there's grass everywhere. It's a very productive landscape, whereas unfortunately in Samburu we don't get that much rain. So grass we just don't have grass, so the number of herbivores is a lot less, and it's a lot more difficult for lions and other carnivores to survive. So I just, here it's such an incredible landscape because there's food and there's water everywhere, whereas it's much harder in Samburu. It's not as accessible because of the climate.
And you say you only got something like 50 millimeters of rain last year?
Last year we had very little, so we haven't actually had proper rain for about a year and a half.
Okay, so that's 2 inches of rain.
Yeah, so it's very dry. Fortunately, our river is flowing, but we go through periods of when that dries up completely, and it's just a challenge for the wildlife. Yeah.
Okay. Some lions behind you?
Yeah.
Can you see them, Fergus? Are they doing nothing?
I can't see them with my eyes. But
I see.
they're lying there.
They're lying there.
These guys are amazing.
Now, we saw something quite interesting last night. We saw that a lioness basically take down what we thought was an adult wildebeest, or as we saw them, she jumped on the back of the adult wildebeest, he kicked her off, and then there was a sort of standoff. And I wanted to get your interpretation of what happened there. Why did she give up? Why did she leave that adult?
I think one thing that's quite unique here is lions are killing but not really eating, and we've passed so many carcasses which are either half eaten or completely left alone. And I think she looked pretty full. I mean, I think she'd killed that wildebeest but then decided to give up. I'm not sure if she's went back. I think someone ate it because there was very little left this morning. But yeah, I think lions here just have it easy. There's game everywhere, and she's, they're killing but they're not eating, or they're eating a little bit, and that's something, again, I'm not used to seeing. I'm used to seeing lions kill something and eat
and
absolutely everything. They make the most of that kill. But here there's food everywhere, so it's different. I think yesterday she was probably full. I'm interested to see what happens today. I mean, the lions are sitting out there in the open. There's wildebeest all around them. And so it'll be really interesting to see who gets up. If they do, are they going to go for a wildebeest? I mean, just coming around the swamp, we've seen 2 dead wildebeests and not eaten.
Yeah, uneaten.
So
we have a question from John.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how you got into this line of work.
So I got into this. I was born in Nairobi, and I've been on wildlife safaris ever since I was a child with my parents. I used to come here a lot when I was a kid, so I loved wildlife. And for me, when I was 8 years old, my dad took me on safari to Samburu, and I saw my first cheetah, and I loved cheetahs ever since then. And so literally it's been a childhood dream of mine to do something with the big cats. And my cheetah passion changed to lions when I moved to Samburu 15 years ago, and I learned that lions are in trouble. The numbers of lions across Kenya, across Africa, are very low, and no one had any idea how many lions were in Samburu or in northern Kenya. So I shifted my focus. I started learning about the lions up there and became fascinated, because it is very different to this. And I grew up coming to the Mara and seeing big prides of lions, just like what we've seen in the last 2 days. But Samburu doesn't have that. We have solitary lions, we have small groups of lions, we have males who are on their own. I mean, they have to live by themselves. And so that really got me interested, and I was hooked as to why is it so different up here. And there was such a need for conservation, which is really why I got into doing what I do now.
And it's not, I mean, you don't only do pure biological research, do you? I mean, that's not the focus of what you do.
No, our focus is very much community-based conservation. So it's working with communities to increase tolerance and encourage them to live with lions. And the reality is lions across Africa are in so much trouble that without engaging communities, there is no hope. And so our focus, 70-80% of what we do, is working with communities to try and encourage them to become lion lion ambassadors, and we've been doing this now for 10 years, and that's where we work with young warriors, we work with women, we work with children, really trying to enhance coexistence. And it's great to see they're out. And because our parks are so small, again, much smaller than the Mara, it's important that lions are safe outside. And the only way they can be safe outside is by working with people. So that's pretty much what we do, is very much community focused. Our research biological side of things, we do look at dispersal of young males, because that's very, when a male's about 3-4 years old, he leaves his pride and he starts venturing off by himself.
Into community lands, quite
exactly,
often.
and those are the ones that get into trouble.
Okay.
So we are trying to look at how do these young males disperse from one area to another, and what is needed to keep them alive.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Then we had another question from Caitlin. Caitlin, you've been there 15 years, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do before that?
I worked for an elephant organization.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what took me up to Samburu, an elephant conservation organization called Save the Elephants.
Okay.
And I used to do their education program, so that was really my introduction into community work.
Right.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Good. We're going to sit here, I think, for the next little while. I'm hoping we're going to catch these lions on the hunt. The other side of the river, though, however, is quite difficult for us to get any signal out of. We did try 3 or 4 times. So we'll sit here for a while, see what goes down, and we'll keep you posted. Let's head across to Tristan, who is still with his elephants.
Well, we're still with our herd of elephants that are slowly but surely moving through the dry winter grass, and the contrast of their dark skin after swimming and this white coloured grass is very, very cool. Now, I can hear a monkey's alarm calling very close to where I am, and so I think what we're going to try and do is go and investigate. We know Tumba was seen here, and the Ellies have just come from that area, and so maybe they've managed to flush him out, and so he might be walking around. So while the monkeys are alarm calling, we're probably going to try and leave our Ellies for now. I was saying that we'll follow them to Treehouse, but when you've got monkeys alarm calling, it's always worth following up, because monkeys are one of the better animals to use for alarm calls, particularly for leopard. They tend to go absolutely crazy when they see a leopard, and if they're high up in the tree and you see them exposed on the top of a tree, then you know in all likelihood it is one of the cats. If they're in the sort of midsections of the tree, then it's normally a bird of prey, and if they're down on the ground in alarm calling, or in the tree low down alarm calling, it's more than likely a snake. So that's how it works roughly. And so we'll have to go and try and investigate these monkeys. You can also see that the Ellies are now on quite a mission to move away from us. So they're getting into that mode where they get into almost a line. You can see the females in front, babies sort of getting into the back, and then they start walking quite quickly. So there would have been some communication that would have happened between all of them, and that means time to go. You can see the females pushing one of the young ones from behind. Off you go. Need to get a move on, and now she's going to stop and feed. That wasn't very nice of you. Maybe she wanted that particular bush and made the rest of them walk around. But how amazing. We've been so spoiled with Ellies, and I wonder if our luck is going to continue with Ellie and leopard drives. I've been so fortunate this cycle in that I've had pretty much every drive has had elephants and some cats, mostly leopard, but we have had lions and Ellies too. So we've been super fortunate in our pursuit of these two particular species. Right, Sebastian, are you ready for a leopard? Always. Were you born ready?
Yeah,
Alright, well, let's try and see if we can go and find this leopard. So we're going to leave our Ellies there. We also know where they're heading, so if they start heading towards Treehouse and we don't come right with our leopard, we most certainly can then just head back into this area, and we'll be able to find them fairly quickly, I would imagine. Although they are moving a lot faster than I would have thought for a hot afternoon. I would have thought they would have been in the shade and resting and taking it a little bit easier. But I suppose if you're busy and you want to get going, you want to get going. Who am I to judge? There goes one of our young bulls on our right-hand side. Now, I believe James Henry has got not only the big cats in the form of lions, but he's now got another member of the Big Five that's slowly but surely approaching.
Well, what we've got there is a buffalo-lion standoff, of course, and in this area I'm not really too confused or concerned for the buffalo's safety. There's far too much else for the lions to be eating to be worried about having a go at something the size and, strength of a buffalo. You can see she just sort of nonchalantly and quite disrespectfully relieved herself in front of him, and now she's walking off into the grasses there. Shivani, what is the major prey item of the lions in your area, or does it really vary? Do they take anything they can get hold of?
Because the lions are mainly solitary or in small groups, they don't go for large-sized prey. They're mainly going for medium-sized or small animals like warthogs. Impala tends to be one of their main prey. Generally it's all small animals. Yeah.
Small animals.
Yeah.
And other than impala, what are the small things?
Impala, warthogs, sometimes they'll go for gerenuk, once in a while a Grant's gazelle. Very rarely will they take down a Grevy's zebra. If at least three of them come together, then they'll go for Grevy's. But we've had some solitary females who are just really, really tough and who can actually bring down. I think once I saw two females bring down a giraffe.
Really?
And once one female brought down a Grevy's by herself. So they are pretty tough. They'll do what they can do to just make sure they can survive.
And the big thing, of course, is to keep them off the cattle, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, it's very much a cattle culture in Samburu. The local pastoralists, their lives depend on their livestock. So when a lion comes along and kills a camel or a cow, understandably there's a lot of resentment and anger, and often that's when the lions are in trouble and then they get shot or poisoned. So yeah, that's pretty much our work, is to try and ensure that lions don't get hold of cattle, because that'll keep them alive.
Umka, we've got a question here, just which I'll feed to you now, but this lioness is now staring down the buffalo. Two of them staring down the buffalo. The buffalo is not looking vaguely worried about it, and because he's stared, the cat's down there moving off towards where there's a mating pair, and possibly the males. Excuse me there. Umka wants to know from you, Shivani, what the most unique lion behaviour you've seen is.
Thanks,
Does that
Umka.
make any sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. The most unique behaviour. I think I'd have to say, like here we are in the Mara, which is a protected area, and lions are safe, and you get to see this, their natural behavior, mating or stalking wildebeest or having a standoff with buffaloes. In Samburu, we observe a lot of lions outside protected areas, and that's pretty much our work, is to see how can they live with people. And I think through that we've seen a lot of interesting behavior. We've seen how lions will raise cubs alone. They don't have the support of other females to look after cubs. They will also teach their cubs how to hunt at a much younger age. I've seen 3-month-old cubs hunt dik-diks, which are little tiny antelopes, and they do that by themselves with no support from the mom. We've also seen how the mothers will never keep their cubs hidden in bushes and then go off hunting. They take their cubs all the time because there's no one to really guard the cubs. They're on the move with the cubs constantly to keep them safe. And so this is the difference between lions in protected areas and lions in community lands, is for survival they do have to act differently to ensure that their cubs make it. I think that's the most unique things I've seen in the last couple of years.
Cool. All right, we're going to head across to Tristan, who has managed to have success with another cat with enormous ears.
Well, look at this, guys. Isn't this cool? So Tumba is here as well at Twin Dams. He waited for the Ellies to go, and now he's... But look... water inside there, but it means that he cannot be too close to the edge, and if a crocodile would have to come, he has a bit of space to be able to jump backwards and get away from there. So he's already learnt his lesson a little bit, and I would imagine that's because he's grown up around Chitwa, and I would imagine that he's tried to drink from Chitwa Dam, and Tundi has taught him that he needs to be very careful of crocodiles. And it's interesting to see the difference between him and potentially Shongile and Hosanna when they were the same age as what Tumba was. They had an incident with a crocodile here at Twin Dams that Brent was involved with, and Karula came and was trying to lead the cubs away and show them that this is a dangerous area. And so you can see with Tumba, he's already had that lesson at some point, because otherwise he would have been right on the fringes of that mud and drinking out of the main part of the dam instead of that little puddle that's just separated off slightly. Now that little puddle would have been caused by Ellie's drinking. So he would have been drinking because the Ellies have now played around and they've pushed the water into a little footwell of maybe another elephant, and that's why he's drinking. Now I believe there is a bit of a picture breakup and freezing every now and then. I do apologize, it is live, it is in the middle of the bush, and these things do happen at some stage. We're also busy trying to fix some of our towers. We're doing a bit of a move onto Chitwa's towers so that we can actually get better coverage over Chitwa and hopefully even the Mulawati and Twin Dams area. So that's why there might be a bit of signal breakup, but I do apologize about it, and hopefully even if it's a breaking up and freezing every now and then, the fact that we're seeing beautiful golden, black and spots at the edge of a waterhole will be enough for you to all be happy and to enjoy the beauty that is our favorite. He's, like I say, his coat is gold in color. He's got these green eyes and this kind of wide face with these dark black eyes and, markings around the eyes. And he's just absolutely fantastic. And I've thoroughly enjoyed. Oh, look at that. You are beautiful, my boy. I've really enjoyed spending as much quality time as we have over the last few weeks and months. It's been incredible. If I think when I first started here, Tumba was a bit of a myth for our presenters. You know, Brent and James and Taylor, hadn't even seen him until recently. And now he seems to be a cat that we really see more often than any others. We're seeing him a lot. Look at him. He's growing into an absolutely beautiful boy. Big shoulders. You can see he's getting a nice thick neck. And somebody was asking this morning, I can't remember, I do apologize, I am getting a little bit old. He was asking me about whether or not he's got a dewlap yet, and you can see not quite. His neck, there's a bit of skin that's sagging a little bit, but not much, so he doesn't actually have a dewlap just yet, but it is coming slowly but surely. Now the problem is he is moving southwards, so I'm hoping that he's not going to cross over the main road and we're going to get to spend more of the afternoon. But look at that coat in the light. Isn't that beautiful? Are you going to lie down there for us, please do. Oh, wonderful. It doesn't get any better than that. There is not a single blade of grass in front of him. He's watching over the dam. That is as good as it gets, for sure. Are you feeling better now? Yes, we've had a lot of... Carsten from Denmark, oh, there he is, he's posing. He heard you, Carsten. He said that he's the most handsome leopard that we see. So he's just giving you his best side. He was giving you his cheeks and just showing you both sides so that you can see all of him. And no, I'm just joking. He was just glancing over his shoulder because there's a bit of a breeze that's blowing, and it is coming from the north. So that's maybe what he picked up, a bit of a scent, or he can hear those ellies moving off. And that's why he just turned slightly. But he is most certainly, for me, one of the most beautiful male leopards I've ever seen. I know that everybody gets attached to young male leopards. It's a weird phenomenon in the guiding industry. Most of the guides do get attached to these young males. But for me, he really is. There's something about him that, I don't know, I just like. And it's not to say that Hosanna is not in his own right. He has around those eyes that just makes him very striking to look at. And so seldom is he sitting still for long periods of time, and I quite like that about him. He's not always just doing nothing. It seems as though when you're with him, you always get quality sightings. So that's why I enjoy spending time with this little fella. Now, where are you off to now? You can't go inside there. You can see there's a bit of an eroded section that he's found himself. Maybe it's a bit cooler inside there. The sun hasn't absorbed and shone. Now he's just sniffing around there. I wonder if maybe Tundi hasn't been here at some. Look at the size of his paws as well. That's something that is one of the most noticeable. Is it his mom? Is it another leopard? And you'll be able to work out exactly what's going on. Yes, I think you must lie down there. That's the best place for you. It's cool, it's in the shade, you look good. Now, while we sit and enjoy Tumba and gloat in our victory, let's go over to Brent, who, well, still hasn't found a cat. And once again, Brent, you've fallen behind.
Well, I'm sure Tristan is grinning like a Cheshire cat. And if you found as many cats as I have in the past, it's good to let the little guy win every now and then. It makes beating him the next time far more enjoyable. Now, what we've done is we've moved away from those valleys down to the southeast of us where we know the gremlins reside. And I was hoping we'd find some remnant of the migration, or the edge of the migration, up here around Mlimembili. Dens is just down here beyond where we can see here. So I'm going to start moving my way west, and I'm hoping these rolling hills, these rolling valleys ahead of us are going to hold some wildebeest and hopefully some kitty cats. Now, this area is in fact the area where that big, beautiful male leopard lives. We've seen it where we saw him take down that warthog was just behind me. So I have been scouring the tops of the Balanites trees very carefully, just in case he's around. But alas, just beautiful sky and some rain to the east of us, probably around the Sand River Basin, and some rain looks like to the north in the highlands, in the Mao Highlands, where the Mara River sources. So we're going to keep an eye out, see if the river comes up in the next few days. Oof, dusty. Let's just speed up quickly around the corner. Get the dust away from us. There we go. Okay, now this is always a good spot for cats, lion and leopard, and even cheetah. Now there is a female cheetah who's got brand new little cubs that has been in this area ahead of me. So who knows, maybe we'll have some luck with a different spotted cat. Hi Caitlin, who's 10 years old. Caitlin wants to know, how long have I been in the Mara? I was on one of the first groups up here, or the first group into the Mara. So I've been here since the 1st of May. So May, June, July, August. Well, nearly 5 months. End of this month will be 5 months. Now, it always pays to stop in a good spot like this and get out the old far lookers and have a good peruse, see if anything is hiding under a tree or in a tree. And I'm just trying to see what we got a couple of zebras, not many, a couple of topi, lots of vultures and the Balanites. But alas, no wildebeest. Some gazelles up ahead. But that's about it, I'm afraid. Well, maybe they're lying low in the valley up ahead. Well, at least James Shuka Henry has some cats, but they might be flat, so let's go see what him and Shivani are up to.
The cats mostly are not flat. They're wandering around and looking like they're becoming relatively enthusiastic with the thought of dinner. And dinner, we hope, is going to consist of some wildebeest behind them, although that is a rather macabre way of looking at things, and in some ways people might say slightly disturbing that we want them to kill something, given that they already have 2 carcasses lying around there, stinking up the place. We know lions eat stinky meat, but their desire to go hunting in the night seems to be almost, well, a little bit like the wildebeest's desire to cross the river. It's irresistible. Isn't that nice? I mean, the colour to this afternoon is just magnificent. And slowly the sun's making its way to the horizon, but it's got quite a long way to go yet. And you can see that that lion is quite possibly lactating. I think she might well be lactating, but you can also see that she is not in the slightest bit thin. She doesn't need to be worrying about where her next lunch is going to come from. And so even though they are so fat, to compare them with the Nkuhuma pride, if you found the Nkuhuma pride of Juma and they were flat and they had big fat stomachs after eating a buffalo, you'd leave them alone. You'd know that they weren't going to go hunting unless something stood on them. These cats during the migration season, I think, are a bit different. They almost revel in the hunt. And it brings up, I think, quite an interesting topic about what makes animals do what they do. I'll get back to that now. Riti, you're wondering if the mating lines are still together. The mating lines are indeed still together, Riti, and I'm not sure we can see them. They're probably just there. One of them's up, I think. Or is that?
That's another female.
That's the mating pair.
There's 2 now.
Two mating pairs.
Yeah, a female.
Oh, that's right. That's the male who was on his own.
Yeah.
So Shivani just pointed out that the male that's up there is not the same male as... That's not the same mating pair. Goodness. Love is in the springish air here. 2 mating pairs. They haven't done any mating yet, but she certainly looks quite flirtatious. How would you interpret that behaviour?
I think she's definitely getting him a little bit interested in her. And
Riled up.
Yeah, and he stood up quickly. She's rolling over. I think it's going to happen. She came running as soon as she saw him.
She did, didn't she?
Tail went up, went running straight into him.
Now, you say your prides are so small at home.
Yeah.
Would a male have a number of prides, or would he still... Is it a sort of a bit like a leopard situation where individual females have got separate territories and the males sort of have 2 or 3 female territories in their territory?
Yeah, so we actually don't have many males. We have 1 male that for many years has just been going from one pride to another. But when I say pride, I literally mean maybe 1 female or 2, at most 3, and this 1 male would go between the 3 but never stay for long. He would mate with a female and then disappear. The males live very much a solitary life up in Samburu, and they're really tough. They've got to hunt for themselves. They've got to really survive. But things changed this year. We've had a huge shake-up in our lion population. We have 4 new males that arrived, and so now it's interesting to see what they're doing and how they're kind of sharing all the females together, and it's still early days, so we're going to see what happens.
Okay. And there was something else of vital importance I wanted to ask you about there. Oh, the size. Do you think that there is a size difference between the lions up there and here?
Definitely, there's a size difference. Our lions are smaller. Our females are much sleeker than these ones. They have smaller heads. The lion you saw yesterday down here that you said is the thinnest lion that you've ever seen, that's actually probably a proper
big lion.
big big lioness for us, and the heads are much more smaller. I'm biased, but our females are beautiful.
I find these ones quite intimidatingly stocky, actually.
Yeah, they are. They're chunky.
Yeah, they're chunky.
They're very chunky.
Yeah, chunky is the slightly less polite way of saying stocky, I think. And is that a genetic thing, or is it purely nutritional?
I think it could be a bit of both. I think the fact that they're not hunting 3 times a day like these guys. I mean, our lions will probably hunt once a week, if they're lucky. And another thing is they'll hunt at any time of the day because they've just got to figure out a way of surviving. And that's basically do what you can do, whatever time of the day it is. And they are smaller because, yeah, they're not eating as much. And also they're on the move a lot. I mean, these guys are not moving much. Just looking at this Salt Lake Pride here, I mean, I wonder if they even venture further than those hills, and they don't have to because food comes straight to them. But our lions are moving a lot, and we have a couple of radio collars on them so we can monitor how, the distance they traveled through a night, and it's 20, 30 kilometers sometimes. So they're definitely on the go, using a lot of energy compared to these guys who really don't use much.
They're probably getting quite unfit lying eating fat next to the Salt Lake. Anyway, we'll leave them to do that. While we do that, you're going to go back across to apparently the sleek and slender Tumba.
Look at that. How beautiful. Don't think there is many things in this world prettier than the face of a beautiful leopard. Now, he is a particularly good-looking specimen, but not one leopard, when you see them at that sort of picture and when they're looking dead on at you, is not pretty. They're all pretty when they look at you like that. Now, James, you're saying the sleek and slender Tumba. Well, he's not so sleek at the moment. He's got a little paunch on him. You see his little belly there? There's quite a bulge that's going on, so he's obviously got some meal last night. If the hyenas did steal something, he definitely got a little bit, because he's certainly not skinny at this stage of the game. He's looking fit and healthy and as good as a young male leopard of a year-old could look. He really is looking fantastic at the moment. So he's a beautiful, beautiful example of a leopard. And you can see he's just watching the 3-banded plovers on the edge of the shore. That's what he's busy watching at the moment. His little plover that's pecking around for water, for food on the edges of the water. There it is. It's just over there. So he's just busy watching it as it moves around and keeping him well and truly entertained. So he's a leopard that doesn't sleep as much as other leopards I've seen. He tends to watch everything. Anything that moves catches his eyes. He looks at. It takes a lot for him to actually fall asleep properly. He tends to like seeing what's going on around him and listening and looking and taking the world in. See, look there, he's watching it fly away. I'm sorry, did I leave you behind, boy? Oh, little biting flies as well. They are quite bad this afternoon. Even this morning, they were driving me crazy. So I can imagine what they must be doing for him as well, particularly if he's got any semblance of smell around his muzzle or any moisture around his nostrils or his mouth. That's going to cause those biting flies to come land and cause havoc with him. This morning we had him so close that at one stage we could actually see all the flies landing on his nose and watch him kind of shake them off. And so I would imagine we'll see the same thing. Just now he was trying to catch them. There we go. You can see he's trying to catch them. Shame, my boy. Are they irritating you? You are a character, you know that. Wow, we are spoilt. I was just saying to Seb now, we get super, super spoiled here in the Sabi Sands. I don't think, sometimes we take this for granted, to sit not even 10 meters away from a wild leopard, watch it catching flies, watching birds coming past, drinking, and for it to be that relaxed out in the open is a very, very special privilege, and it really is the best job in the world when would weigh, in this particular area, we have some of the heaviest leopards in the world, as well as in parts of India. There's some very big ones there, and those leopards will weigh in excess of 180 to 200 pounds. That would be about the biggest. The heaviest on record, as far as I know, is 97 kilograms, so that would be about 210 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that. So that's wild leopard, that's not the zoo leopard. And if we had females, your heavier females are weighing about 100 to 120 pounds at the most. So the female's much smaller, but look at the size of his paws. Now, he will eventually weigh probably close to 180 pounds, because if you look at those paws, he's got to grow into them, and he is definitely going to be monstrous. And it really is interesting to grow into them, and he is definitely going to be monstrous. And it's really all. I don't know if he's going to be the tallest leopard, but he's going to be very thick-set and heavily built. And it'll be, I hope, no matter where he goes, that I will be able to follow his his mother has left him. No, Jean, his mother has. But she's also now knows that he can start taking care of himself. He's able to climb, he's big enough to look after himself and even hunt for himself, theoretically. So she spends long periods of time away. She was with him last night. They were walking together, and we had her tracks this morning where he question was, it was, is or has his mother left him alone, and is he on his own now? No, he's not. His mother is still around. They were seen together last night, but he is bigger and he's able to look after himself now. He's able to even feed for himself and fend for himself, so she can spend longer periods of time away. Also, because he is bigger, she needs to hunt more frequently than what she was previously, because, well, she's got to feed not only herself but this growing massive individual that is Tumba. So she's going to be having to feed basically an individual that's larger than her as well as herself. So it spends a lot more time hunting, and her time with Tumba is less and less frequent as time goes on. Months and 2 years. Currently, Tumba is around a year old. He's just over a year old, actually a year and a month, so he's 13 months old at the moment. So he's still should stay with mom for a little bit longer, but theoretically he's almost in that average span, and she has been mating recently, so if she's fallen pregnant, then it will potentially leave her. Now, we're talking about mating and her going into estrus cycles. It sounds like James is with two felines that are busy in the act as we speak.
No, they're not in the act in the slightest. She has tried desperately to encourage that male to show him her wares, if you like, and he is utterly disinterested. He has no interest in mating whatsoever. He just wants a peaceful afternoon where he can sleep on his own. While the wildebeest walks gently by, he's being lulled into a sense of relaxation by their bow, bow, bow. Well, the female is just, well, she's harassing him slightly. Not anymore now, she's having a sulk. He's saying, what's wrong? And she's saying, nothing. But you can see something's wrong because she's flicking her tail, you see. So he says, no, I can see something's wrong, you're flashing your tail. She says, I'm fine. And now he looks bemused, you see. I've been in his position before. Looking bemused is what I mean by that. Now remember, any questions or comments you have either for me or for Shivani, you can send through #SafariLive, or you can put them in the chat section of the YouTube feed broadcast thing that we're doing here. Can you describe the landscape a bit for us, Shivani? We're looking over, of course, at one of possibly the Mara's most spectacular areas, the Salt Lick, and we've just had the light fade over it. What does it look like where you live?
It's very different. It's very rocky. We've got huge, big mountains. We've got this amazing river right in the middle called the Iwasa River, which is stunning. It's got doom palm trees all along it, huge acacia trees. So it's a lot bushier compared to this, just a lot more bushier. This is very open with a few hills and a few bushy areas, but generally ours is a lot thicker. And we don't have swamps like this.
Is this an unusual sort of formation? This, and I mean, I haven't. This is the only one that I've seen in this area. I don't think that there are many around here. But obviously, it attracts a huge amount of activity. I think it's time for us to move around to the other side there. There's that one lioness who's been spurned by the male is now looking angrily towards the wildebeest herd, and she's not much more than 100 meters from the flaggers. So I think it's going to be time for us to move around that side and see if we can't get in amongst the herd and look at the lions from the other side, especially as the clouds start to gather and the light starts to fade. And just before we do that, just quickly, elephants in your region?
We've got a great number of elephants,
You do?
yeah, and Samburu is an amazing place to see elephants because they're always in the river. We've got over 1,000 elephants
Really?
just in that whole area, and yeah, it's pretty special for elephants.
And they obviously don't have the effect of thinning the bush out too much.
They have caused some tree damage, but the conservationists there are trying to do something about that, trying to protect the trees. So yeah, there has been a change in the last 15 years since the early days of when I was there compared to now.
Okay.
Definitely some areas have been destroyed by elephants, but there are efforts to try and protect those regions.
Okay. Elephants, of course, the big debate all over the place. All right, let's try and move around, see if we can't find a way to the other side. I suppose you can sit exactly where you are. You need not move 1 inch.
Okay.
Just don't fall off,
Okay.
ideally.
Try not to fall.
I'm not sure we've done this angle before. Fergie, are you excited?
You challenge me.
All right, while we do this, I believe that Tumba is also on the hunt for something slightly smaller than wildebeest.
Now, our little Tumba is such a character. He's really making me laugh this afternoon because he's trying to hunt francolins and go incognito by hiding in an erosion dip, but he's not doing very well at all. There's the francolins there, and look at how he's watching them over and above. But the problem with him is his tail's sticking out, and he keeps moving his tail with excitement, and that gives it away completely. So the white tip of his tail keeps giving him away, and the francolins keep running off. If he just sat still and kept his tail still, he would be absolutely fine. There we go. You see, he's trying to hide himself, and he has the right idea. But unfortunately, he's just being completely betrayed by the mind that is the tail. It seems as though they do have their own mind. You see that little tip, when it does that, the francolins see it immediately, and they give him trouble for it. So it's very funny to watch. He can't seem to keep it under control. And you can hear the francolin making a noise. The emerald-spotted wood dove. Are you going to be like your cousin Shivambalan and grab a wood dove? Shivambalan's name came from catching one of those wood doves. That's what he caught. He was sitting on top of a termite mound. There it is, the emerald-spotted wood dove. And this wood dove came flying past, and he jumped up and grabbed it, and that's where he got his name. So maybe Tumba will be like his cousin and grab it as well. Well, I suppose not, it's his cousin. Look at how he's watching. He's almost got those sad eyes as though somebody help me. And boy, are the birds giving you trouble? Are they tormenting you today? Yes, don't worry. He's such a character. Like I say, he never stops looking around. He's always got his eyes shifting somewhere, and you can see he's almost watching that wood dove out the corner of his eye. Come closer, I dare you. Look, there he goes, he's watching it. And the wood dove is just in front of him. There's the wood dove. But there's no cover for him from there, so he's got really no chance, unfortunately, to grab that dove. You silly cat. And he's torn between the francolin and the wood dove. So the francolins are moving up on top near where I am now, and the wood dove closer to him. And I think he's not sure which one you'd rather go for at this stage. They both are moving around and bobbing around and seem as though they're tantalizingly close, but unfortunately still too far away for a chunky leopard like that. The birds will be flying long before he gets anywhere near them. Don't look at me like I'm talking nonsense about you. You know I'm right. But look at that stare. Mary, you say there's so much gold colour on him. I know, he's very gold. He's got a nice, deep, rich golden colour. And I've been dying to see Tumba in really late afternoon golden light. I think he would look absolutely spectacular on a big marula tree or even on a termite mound in really good light. He seems to always get him behind some foliage in the good light, so I'm looking forward to the day that we see him lounging somewhere like this but bathed in golden light, just to see how much gold that coat really has. I know at some stages this morning we did see him in fairly decent light and he really was very gold, but I want to see him in really rich late afternoon kind of reddish light and just see how that whole coat pops and becomes that much more colourful. Paula, wondering if leopards frequently hunt birds? Most definitely, Paula. Leopards probably have the most diverse amount of food items on the menu. They will hunt everything from insects all the way up to baby elephants. So giraffe, any of the antelope species, like I say, insects, birds, small mammals, rodents, snakes, you name it, they are happy to feed off it. And that's why leopards are so widely distributed. You find them in mountainous areas, desert areas, savannas, riverine thickets, forests. It doesn't really matter in Africa. They will be able to make a plan, and even in cities they will be able to inhabit those areas and stay there. So they are easily able to survive on anything, and that's why they'll go after birds, particularly young leopards like this. A bird is a perfect prey animal because it teaches them a lot of how to hunt. It teaches them how to go about hunting, how to grab certain prey animals. Are you bored, Tumba? And be able to stalk and learn their pattern, because birds are quite flighty animals, so to speak, excuse the pun, but they are animals that are, any little sound or movement, they're off and they're gone. Your eyes. And so they're the perfect species or perfect thing to practice on in order to try and perfect your hunting technique as a young leopard. So you find young leopards do go after them a lot. And you can see he's hot. He's obviously, that's in that little gully, there's no wind, and that means that he's absorbed a lot of heat there, and that's why he's starting to pant a little bit, so mouth open and his breathing getting a little faster, just to be able to try and cool that body down. Shame, it must have been quite an uncomfortable day for him. It's been a while since it's been this warm. So I'm sure he's had a tough day at the office, so to speak. How's that though? Sprawled out and relaxed on the edge of the water. It doesn't get much better than that in terms of viewing. Mandy, you say Tumba is so expressive. Well, I agree, Mandy. There's something about him. He's almost like there's an intelligence and an intrigue that he has, and his eyes are always looking and they're analysing, and it seems as though he's quite on top of his surroundings. He knows what's going on around him. He picks things up fairly early, so he's quite intriguing to watch. And like I say, his eyes are full of something. I don't know, there's emotion behind those eyes. You're watching the birds again, my boy. There's a little three-banded plover that's just flown past. So it's lots of emotion that I find behind his eyes, and they're intriguing to me. He almost captivates you when he looks at you. So an absolute pleasure to spend time with him. But what was amazing is when Seb went out there, just how well a leopard blends in. So we often say that leopards are animals that can hide in plain sight. Now in an area like this, it's completely open. As you can see, there's no vegetation whatsoever. But when Seb comes out like that, look at how quickly that animal blends into its environment. Now you can imagine if it's lying flat with its head down, how that spotted pattern actually blends in with that dappled light on the mud. You've got lighter, darker sections, and it really does blend in very well. So even when there's no vegetation, a leopard is an animal that is quite tough to spot. So you've got to keep your wits about you and really use your eyes quite cleverly when looking for leopards. And you've got to try and use those white markings on the belly area and the tail, because that often gives them away more than anything else. But he's certainly putting on a show this afternoon. I reckon this is probably one of the best sightings we've had of him, and just in terms of he's completely relaxed, he's out in the open, we haven't had to bash around. This morning was just so epic because of his time spent with the elephants and watching him go about slinking around the ellies, and it seems as though maybe he followed the ellies around because he's right back where the ellies were when we found them this afternoon. But it was amazing to watch him. But this afternoon is just special because we're spending quality time and we're not having to for his mom to come back. Oh, look at that. Renee, you're wondering if Tumba and Shongile would mate even though they're distant relations. Well, if Tumba potentially became dominant within this area, then most certainly they would. I've seen fathers mating with daughters, so Anderson, if he potentially stays dominant, he's going to mate with Tiani, and Tiani is his daughter, so that does happen from time to time that relatives will mate. It's highly uncommon in this age group because generally the young males are pushed out and will become nomadic, so they are forced into different areas and away from the bloodline of the females, and therefore they're not inbreeding. That's how it's supposed to work. But if you take Quarantine, for example, Quarantine is right here on the east. Now, hypothetically, with Tingana getting older, Quarantine still being quite young, there's every likelihood that Quarantine could push west and push Tingana out of his territory. So it is possible that they could mate. Now, I believe James has got his lions that are not only fornicating, but now...
Look at this, everybody. Here comes a lioness. She spotted a straggler behind the herd, and I don't think I can move. I think the straggler is going to pop out into the grass. You got the straggler there. He's just through the grass there. Hello, everybody on Facebook. That straggling wildebeest is about to be pounced upon by a lioness who's not far away. We're just not in the best possible position. She's there. She spotted him. I'm going to try and move very slightly forward. I think he's injured or sick. You be happy here, Ferg? Okay, Fergus says he's got a decent shot from here. She's been stalking this herd now for about 5 minutes. Most of them have moved up onto the hill next to us, and she spotted that thing. Is either sick or injured. Here she goes. She's running. I don't think that thing has any idea what's going on. He's just kind of limping along. She's only about 30 meters from him now, using the contours of the road. Let's sit still, everybody. That's me who Fergus is shouting at. There, look. Here she goes. Probably sick from all the walking, might be very old. Has no idea what's going on. Look how she uses the contour of the road here. And every time it looks like it's going to turn around, she stops. It's very shortly now that she's going to make the rush. I hope that we can see it. We can just see the wildebeest. There she goes. Oh, are we going to see it? She can't be more. There, she's on his back. She's on his back. That's a big wildebeest. She's a lioness in her prime, fully fed, beautifully fed. By all the migration meal, she's a powerful, powerful animal. 120 kilograms, 260 pounds. She's just taken down what looks to be a very sickly wildebeest calf, weighing probably twice what she does. It's not over yet. I'm sorry we can't move any closer. I think we'll probably lose signal. Well, that's the takedown. Let's move a little bit closer. Ferg, sorry, man. There we go. We've got no live in. We do keep losing picture. I'm sorry about that.
Now, sorry about those issues. We have a few gremlins in both Djuma and at the Mara, but how exciting an afternoon has it been. Not only we had Ellies, we've had leopard, we've had Brent out and about, which is always exciting to see, and, well, we've had James just make that with that kill, which is absolutely incredible. I'm a little bit jealous of those guys sometimes because they're seeing such incredible things when it comes to hunting behavior and the way that these guys are, the way that the lions and the cheetahs are utilizing that migration to the fullest effect. It really is something incredible to watch, and I find myself watching lots of videos out of the Mara, and it really is quite something. I know we get spoiled with the leopards and we get to spend so much time with them, and I'm very thankful for that, but like I said, it is really amazing just to watch and to see how these animals go about their business in the Maasai Mara. So I'm sure James is grinning from ear to ear after seeing that. I know James has been loving every minute of his time in Kenya, so I'm glad that they've had a good time, and they really have done so well. All the staff there has put in massive amounts of work and massive amounts of hours to show us the most incredible sights from one of the world's most amazing destinations. So hopefully it will continue, and hopefully the guys will have a really good run towards the end of the TV shows. Not too many left now, and they've done a sterling effort so far, so I hope that it continues onward and upward, as we would say, into the future. So really it has been a sterling effort from everybody that's been involved in the Mara side. Little Tumba is still a bit sleepy, and the best part about this is that we're sitting all by ourselves at Twin Dams. There's not another single person around, and we've got a leopard all to ourselves. Is that not a special moment in life? You can see he's just at the corner of the dam. We've got that view to gaze upon. I'm hoping that maybe because it's been a warm day this afternoon, we might get some antelopes creeping down into the corner here, and maybe little Tumba will get his chance to stalk some of the antelopes from where he's lying. So that's why we're just going to stay with him and give it our best shot and see if he isn't going to just spend a little bit more time and be patient enough to wait for an animal to come down. This time of the day we often find things like impala and nyala coming to Twin Dam, so I'm hoping for his sake that one of those do arrive. Or his mum. I was just saying to Seb, no, wouldn't it be spectacular if Tundi came striding across the dam wall straight to him and we had a reunion of the two of them. But I love how he's lying now with his kind of head down and that tail curled in a little kink at the back there, almost like a shepherd's hook at the back, and just completely relaxed, big paws in front, and even his back paws are massive. If you look at the size of that in comparison to his face, you'll get an idea of just how large those paws may be. And in terms of a size in relation to us as humans, it would be about the same size as, I would say, 3/4 of my hand. That would be about the size of those paws at the moment, which is massive. They are huge, 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 and they really are going to be perfect for life. When he becomes a dominant male, he's certainly going to be giving a lot of other males a hard time with those paws if he has to use them. But I'm hoping, like I was saying earlier, that wherever he ends up, that we'll be able to follow him. Hopefully he doesn't go too far and disappears and we can't see his progress as he becomes a big territorial male, because I think wherever he goes, they're in for a treat and they're going to be spoilt by not only a beautiful cat, but a very relaxed one too. getting sleepy now. So enough of the stalking and drinking and entertaining. It's now time to have a little bit of a break and a little sleep. And our run of leopard and elephant luck continues. Sebastian, I think it must be you. Although Senzo's also had a bit of luck, the two of you are very lucky when it comes to both these animals. We were talking about sightings that Seb and I have shared. Seb and I have had some crazy sightings with elephants. Seems as though whenever Seb's with me, we get these really cool sightings of elephants all around the car, and it's very, very cool to work with somebody who enjoys it just as much as I do. Now, Paul, you're wondering how fast this leopard could run. Well, a leopard generally is doing at about 60 kilometers an hour. They have recorded them as much as 70, but in terrain like the Sabi Sands, where it's dense and thick, it's very seldom that they're going to be getting up to that speed. Let's also remember with leopards, and unlike the cheetahs or even the lions in the Mara that are running quite big distances to chase down their prey, leopards are ambush predators. So they like these dense, thick areas where they'll get into a place, they'll calculate where an animal's moving, and they basically position themselves that the animal walks straight to them. And then they wait for that animal to get within 3-4 meters, and they have that explosive speed off the mark with those big, powerful back legs and front legs that will pull themselves off the mark, and they surprise that animal and onto it like a flash, and that's how they hunt. Very seldom will a leopard be successful if it runs from a big distance. The only leopard I've ever seen successful in that regard was Mvula on Chitwa airstrip, where he chased down an impala from about 50 meters away, which was absolutely unbelievable. It was only because the impalas completely panicked. I don't think they're used to being hunted in that way, and they all panicked, and one ran straight at him, and he got to about 40 meters and it ran literally into him, and he just grabbed it and then went down with it. So it's the only leopard I've ever seen manage a cheetah lion type chase, if you want to call it to that. The rest of them are all ambush predators that lie and wait in thick, dense vegetation, and that's the best time for them to hunt and places to hunt. Out here in a big dam like this, very seldom that you're going to see a leopard being able to be successful. There's not enough brush here, unless he was in one of these little pockets of bush that we see around the dam, and he sits there for long enough that a prey animal comes along. But lying out in the open like this, he's probably got very little chance. Impalas and kudus and nyalas and all the other species that are on the menu would probably spot him from quite far away. What are you watching now? I'm sure you're still watching various birds that are on the edges of the water. There's, like I say, a few little three-banded plovers walking around, and there'll be some thick knees starting to come down just now as the sun is now set. You're going to find the thick knees are going to move towards the edge of the water. There'll be a few lapwings around. And I'm surprised there's no Egyptian geese shouting at him. Maybe he's chased those already today. And there's also no monitor lizard either. And I was really hoping there was going to be monitor lizards at our little lair, the Love Lair that we had a few months ago, which is just to the left there. And for those of you that know the Love Lair, that's it over there. And look at how much the water has dropped. So I can't remember when exactly that was, but it wasn't long ago. That was at the edge of the water when we were watching it. The monitor lizards were going in there, and the water was slightly below, but not much. Now you can see that the water has really dropped quite some way from that particular hole. But no sign of the around the Chitwa Dam. Now, Alice, if you can just repeat the name for me. Sorry, I did forget the name. I know that it was something about cheetah. HKP, that's right. You wanted to know at how far, well, isn't the cheetah the fastest? Yes, the cheetah is the fastest of the land mammals. The cheetah has been recorded in captivity is running close to 120 kilometers an hour, but generally in the wilds of the Maasai Mara and places like that, they're going to get to about 100, 110 kilometers. So that is absolutely lightning fast. It's almost 80 miles an hour, and these guys really, really burn it. And I'm sure if you keep watching the show and you watch the times that they move, it is quite something to watch. So they really are the quickest of the quick, and certainly keep a lot of the animals on that side on their toes. The problem with them is being so fast is that they unfortunately are not able to compete with any of the others. So things like leopard, lion, and even hyenas dominate cheetah to a large degree, and so they don't thrive in areas like this. It's dense, it's thick, and then the number of other predators make it very difficult for the cheetah in this area. And so that's why we don't have the same numbers as what the Mara Serengeti system has got. Shame. The flies are driving him mad, and they're driving me a bit mad too. Biting flies are probably one of the most irritating things, because what they do is they land on you, and then slowly but surely, it's almost like somebody had to take your skin and inch by inch would just increase the pressure until it really hurt all of a sudden. And that's what a biting fly feels like. It's like a slow increase of pressure until it really is very painful, and you end up slapping yourself because it hurts, and then they fly off probably pretty amused with themselves and then land again on you a bit later. So I can feel and sympathize for Tumba with all the flies that are around, and I'm hoping they're not going to bug him too much longer. Now it's getting dark, hopefully they should ease off and he'll have at least a bit more of a restful evening than he's had during today. Although we know he's going to wake up shortly, because it's now the time that leopards are most active, around this dusk period. So they are crepuscular animals more than they are nocturnal, which means that they're active more around these sort of sunset, sunrise periods and the hours before and after those than they are during the middle of the day or middle of the night. Now, we're still with Tumba, who is a beautiful vista for us here at Djuma, but I believe Brent is in the Mara, and well, there's not many places in the world that has better vistas than that of the East African plains.
That is too true, Tristan, too true. Now, this is quite an interesting vista, because smack bang in the middle of it is a monster rainstorm, and it is heading our way. Now, of course, these local rainstorms really affect the movement of the wildebeest in this area. So who knows? That rain at the moment is falling on the eastern bank. I'd say probably around the Sand River. And who knows, that could cause those wildebeest that are surrounding James and in the Gremlin valleys to come out and maybe cross the river, or if enough rain falls on this central plateau of the triangle, they could be back there by tomorrow. And it is amazing how that rain gets those wildebeest moving around. And of course it's really good, because it spreads a lot of dung, fertilizer, which has created these massive open plains. Interesting stuff. It's going to be fascinating to see what's happening over the next couple of days. Well, we've been down in this area because this is where the female cheetah with 3 tiny little cubs has been serviced. But we haven't had any luck with her yet. I just wanted to check under that tree, and hopefully we will be able to find her one of these drives. I think it will be a real treat to have some little cheetah cubs. They are very, very cute. These guys are so small. I did see them, but unfortunately they were in a gremlin zone. And I love the way that little cheetahs' backs are the same color as the grass. So they have very much longer hair and much lighter to help them camouflage them from other predators. Now, of course, cheetah have a hard time with predators out here in the Mara, and not many cubs actually survive all the way to adulthood. So, fingers crossed. I think it's Kekenya, but I'm not 100% sure yet. It could be one of her daughters who's had cubs. Ooh, lots of rain about. It's getting a bit nippy. Now, just checking around here. Darlene. Hi, Darlene. Welcome on the back of the vehicle. Darlene would like to know, when our chef is preparing our din-dins and whatnot in camp, does it ever attract any animals? No, it hasn't. Not yet. We're very, very careful that it doesn't. It's very easy to get a problem with hyenas and baboons and monkeys in particular. So we're very careful to make sure if there's no one in the kitchen, everything is locked up tight. And so they don't, we don't have any marauders. And we make sure there's no sort of food lying about and whatnot, and our rubbish is always locked up And so far we haven't had any troubles with any marauding animals in camp. The thing that marauds around camp the most, of course, during the night, though, is the zebra. So we can hear them munching away on the grass around our tents. But they're there for the grass, not for what either Simon or David are cooking. Now, we are heading into the zone of those young male lions. I'm hoping they might be about. There's still a few straggling herds of zebra and wildebeest in these valleys. Haven't quite caught up with the rest of the lot that have ran south. And I'm just trying to get my bearings slightly to where that storm is. Actually, I think it might be a little bit further south than I initially expected. So I'm just trying to figure out, so if we have a look over here, you can, there. So that little hill where my finger is, back to the left of it, over there. That little hill there, it looks to be, yes it is indeed, Lookout Hill. So Silas is, oh wait, need my hand out here. Silas is about there, so it's just on the peripheries. So I would say, and the Sand River, so I'd say a lot of the rain is, it could be around Silas, or maybe a little bit further south. Now, I have had a lack of kitty cats and a lack of wildebeest, but it sounds like my friend Jamesy is surrounded, so let's go find out.
The lions are coming up over this ridge. We don't know exactly where they are. We've had to come around the way, and now the wildebeest have started running. We thought they were having a panic attack, but they're not. They're just sort of doing a little migration. And just only half of them. There are huge numbers all sides of us, and these cats are in the grass over here. They left that kill completely uneaten, but for one extremely sensitive part. It was a bull, and you can put two and two together from that. They left him there. You got the lions? No. And we wanted to follow them up over the top, but it was too rocky, and so we had to come around. And they're in here somewhere. And we're just wondering exactly where. Oh, watch out, here they come. They're right next to us. Right next to us there. They've just nailed one. Just to the left. Left. They're right there. They've just smashed one. They came straight out of the grass behind us. I cannot believe we missed that. Right here. Straight out of the grass. That happened in less than a second. There it is. I really cannot understand how that happened. I was looking exactly in that area. She's going to hunt again, Ferg. Watch her. I'm just going to swing right hand down for you. Let's go to Facebook. How's that, Ferg? Not so good. Just duck your head down. Everybody, we're on our second hunt here. In fact, the third. We've just watched another wildebeest go down, and now that lioness is on the hunt. We're not sure exactly where these wildebeest are going. They weren't panicked by the lions, but now they are. And that group there doesn't have any idea that there's a lion after them. Ferg, if you want me to move, I can.
Keep it here for now.
Should we stay here for now? We're going to stay here. Another lioness also having a go now, closer by. Ferg, have you seen this one next to us? Ferg is on camera, by the way, everybody. There's the other lioness here, and she's waiting for this herd. There she goes, and she's hoping the herd is going to head this way. They have not picked up on these lions yet, the wildebeest at the back. This is the absolutely crazy sighting. Thank you to all of you for your comments and questions. I think we're going to sit here for now. And we might have to move around though, Ferg. What do you think? Okay, there we go. I'm going to move quickly now. I've got eyes on the lioness. There are a lot of rocks here. If I see her run, I will stop the car, but I just think that the grass is so long here that we could easily miss it. Just a little bit up to that termite mound, I think we'll stop over there. We don't want to interfere. There she is. She's just over my right shoulder there, making her way towards the herd. We'll stop at this termite mound. The wind is now blowing. This is entirely in the lion's favor. There's still light. You see her, folks? She's just straight over my shoulder. Well done. Those wildebeest standing up, hoping to see what the threats are. Now, there are a whole lot sort of angling towards this way. I'm not going to move from here. The wind has come up. The storm has come up. These lionesses are killing for the sake of killing. They have not been eating. They did not eat the other one that they killed. They've just killed another one behind us. There she is, well spotted. Straight towards them. Look how perfectly coloured she is. She's moving now on smell and on sound. She cannot see, but she knows she's close. She can hear their movements. She's using the wind. They will have absolutely no idea that that's where she is. Just watch carefully. Every so often, just a little flash of tawny fur through the grass. Oh, this is terrifying for a wildebeest. Oh, Maritza, you say it's like they're on a hunting frenzy. That's exactly what's going on. Can you still see her? I can't see her either. She's in there somewhere, everybody. Somewhere in there, and she's about to make her move. Her second move of the day. I don't know if this is the same lioness. She must be so close now. It can't be long before a little one walks past that she singles out as a target. And we might only see, the only thing we might see is the wildebeest suddenly scattering. I'm trying to spot the other one. Don't know where the other one's gone. What we don't want to do here, everyone, is move, start the engine and spook them. There, what have you spotted, wildebeest? Keeping an eye out all sides of us now. Where is she? In that swaying red oat grass, perfectly camouflaged. She is the absolutely perfect design for this landscape. And now the wildebeest have calmed. They're making their soft canoeing sounds. But somewhere in those swaying culms, death lurks. We might, like I say, only see them suddenly panic and run. Why they decide to start hunting now, I don't know. Look at the light changing. The sun is just setting behind us. It's turned the golden colours. And somewhere in there, in that beautiful mass of grass, lies Africa's most effective migration killer. And I'm just, every so often I'm looking up and just looking around to see if the others aren't coming close by. And Joseph, who's our scarf, you got it?
No, your head.
My head, sorry. I'm just moving. Joseph is saying that there is one to the left of us.
Going.
She's going. There she goes. Oh, well done. That's number 3. Fergus. Brilliant work there, everyone. Cameramen seldom get the kudos they deserve. Absolutely brilliant patience not to move the camera from there. That is a year and 7 months old, everybody, on its second migration. Oh, he's putting up a good fight. Come on, fella. But those enormous lion canines are in between the windpipe now and the throat, and I don't think there's any chance that that thing is going to escape. She is so strong. They're probably about equally matched in weight at the moment, but in terms of strength, there really is no competition whatsoever. Now look at the rest of them behind there. They're not panicked. They're just now migrating slowly. They're just having a run. Now, I hate to do this to you, but just off to our left, there's another lioness stalking. I'm going to move slightly. There she goes. She's about to run. Can you see her there, folk? Okay, I'm going to stop here. Sorry about that. She's going to run. You got her. Just to the... You got her. There's a little stick to the right, folk. To the right. Quite a long way to the right, where those wildebeest are. There. She's just behind that stick.
Okay.
Somewhere there. Just to the left, sorry, of the stick, actually. Yeah, somewhere in there she disappeared. Can you believe it? This is our third hunt in broad daylight. And this grass is just so perfect for them. You know, we come through an area like this, we think, wow, that's beautiful. Yes, it is beautiful, but it is also extremely treacherous if you cannot see what's in it. Now, I want you to imagine as you watch this that you are one of our ancient human ancestors walking through this grass, and how much more easily you would have seen the lions being upright on 2 feet, as opposed to on all fours like these animals here. Turtle, I think your question is, are they killing just for fun, or why do they kill for fun? I think it's the same reason that a cat will chase a ball of wool. Because they can. It's what they do. And that strong instinct to hunt and kill, of course, comes from the need to eat. But at the same time, when there is so much to eat, the instinct to catch and kill doesn't disappear. They are not blessed of self-control like we are. You see anything there, Fergus? No, I can't either. She's there. We saw her go in there. She must be now about to pounce. I'm just going to take my binoculars out and have a look-see. Yeah, James, you say it's a marvel to watch these lions. It's an absolutely astonishing thing to see. And it is so unusual for us because we're not used to following lions like this on the migration. I had no idea that this is how they behaved until I got here. I can't see any flashes of tawny amongst the grass there. Her tail will be flat down. She'll be approaching slowly, and the important thing is to keep a lookout everywhere. Because it's quite possible that the lioness we just saw kill, it's quite possible she's killed that wildebeest and left it and is now stalking again. Ferg, I'm going to suggest we move slightly forward. You want to back up slightly. We'll just watch to see if they run. And if they run, then we know they are moving away from her, which the others were not. The other lioness who killed is just over there to the right-hand side. Somewhere in that grass. I'm not going to try and find her because we could easily run her over. It's very thick. It's very rocky in here. I'm not worried about running this lioness over because she's sufficiently far enough away from us. I don't see her anywhere. Yeah, in front of us there's another one. I think, no, that's the one who was killed. That's the one we saw killed. There are 5 lionesses so far that we've seen in this pride. At least she's still on her kill there. Whether she'll actually make use of it or not, I don't know. Let's leave her there. You're wondering what gnu's taste like, which is... You got it? She's right there. Benny, I'll get back to you. Ferg down. Yeah. You got her then. There she is, well spotted. She's not far now. Benny, you want to know what gnu tastes like? I don't know. I don't think I may have eaten it. Oh, here she goes. idea. No, they have absolutely no idea. Just a straggler at the back there, I think, is going to cop it. It's limping. That one back at the back is limping. It's in big trouble. She's picked it up exactly like she picked up the other one, if it was her. Look at them coming together there. I don't know if she's noticed it's limping or not. She's now right in between it and the second last wildebeest. There she's going for the other, another one to the right. Oh my goodness. That's number 3. This is absolutely astonishing stuff. Can you believe the luck of that limping one? She didn't see the limping one, and she grabbed the youngster in front. And just no chance. You'll never get out of those canines. The claws are about half the length of an adult male finger, and obviously as sharp as a knife. And again, that is a yearling. And I can tell that from the horns into the second migration, made it through the most difficult time of life, and are plucked from existence by a greedy and murderous pride of lions. And I know that sounds very nasty, but really it is difficult to watch this without feeling like that. There is a huge storm now blowing in. Alright, let's go a bit closer to that one, I think. I've never seen anything like this at all. I've never come close to seeing anything like this. I'm sitting next to a lion researcher who's been watching lions for in excess of 20 years now. She's never seen anything like this before. And the reason I'm sitting up like this is, well, it's because it's very rocky through here, and we just don't want to drive onto something and make a big noise, or over something, perhaps another lioness. There are still 2 lionesses unaccounted for. I don't know where they are. They could easily be stalking in amongst that lot. I think we might have to shut this down fairly soon, everybody, and put down the covers, because there is a big storm coming in. Now we've got a question from the name, I'm afraid I missed it. You're wondering if they'll come back and kill what they leave. Nicole, often you know they won't. They'll just kill, they'll eat a few smackerels, and then they'll leave it for the vultures. There we go. Well, before the sun's even set, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 kills. Alright everybody, this is where I find it very difficult to keep watching, because these animals do not die quickly. We're going to have to pack up for the storm, I think. Thank you for joining us. We'll keep you posted if anything else happens. Alright everybody, I don't know, are we still live with the internet other viewers? Okay, everyone, I think we're going to, she's on her way again. We're going to head across to Tumba now with Tristan. We'll follow her for a while, just in case we can make it, but I think it's going to get too rainy. What do you think?
Well, James Henry, it seems as though you are having the most incredible afternoon in the Maasai Mara, and I don't think you could ask for anything more than that. That's absolutely insane what he's experienced this afternoon, and like I say, a little jealous. But our little Tumba, since you've been gone, has been a bit of a Dora.
Everybody, she's on it again. I'm going to stop here. The rain's starting to come down. Perfect hunting conditions. Clueless wildebeest running past. This is the same lioness we've just been watching. She's going to have another go. She's behind a perfect thicket there. Hello, we're back on Facebook Live. She's just behind that little bunch of grass there. She's waiting. Here she goes. Same lioness we've just been watching. There's lots of space there, or not, at least there's very little space between there. Just her ears. Look at the black of her ears there. You see the black of her ears turning? Absolutely astonishing stuff. She's moving closer. She's barely killed the other one, and now she's on it again. Huge rock field in front of me. I can't move from here. We don't need to for now. This is unbelievable. There she goes. She's moving now. And she's just going to get alongside. Just to the left, Ferg. Left, Ferg. Yeah, she's there. Just see the ears there. These animals are not running away because they're nervous. They're running because that's what they do. And she's going to leap out behind that grass stalk and have a go. You can just see her ear there. Just sneaking closer. I can hear more canoeing in the... Have a go. You can just see her ear there. Just sneaking closer. The collie who's caught another one. Now they're moving faster, maybe a little bit too fast. No. Much more difficult when they're moving at this speed. This is quite phenomenal. Here she goes, there she goes. Right, there she goes, she's running. Running right. Can't see her in the grass. Can't see her. I think she's... Surely she hasn't. She missed for the first time ever. Or did she grab one? Let's move. She got her. She killed.
I can't see.
Okay, we can't see whether she killed or not. I mean, I feel like a real heel laughing at this sort of thing. It's not really very funny if you happen to be a wildebeest, and it's quite disturbing for anybody who's ever watched lions before or watched cats and felt love for them. There she is in front of us. They've stopped moving now as the storm. She's still after them. Now just get around this termite mound, Ferg. Cindy, I'm afraid I missed your question in amongst the driving wind now. You say, doesn't it make them exhausted, Cindy? I'm sure it does. There she is. I think that she is now going after the herd that is off towards the mountains there. No, running. It's almost like it's a fun game for her. Alrighty, everybody, we're going to have to do some rain adjustments to the car. While we do that, we're going to hand you over away, and we'll come back as soon as we can.
It's got a lock on it. There you go. Well, we're still sitting here with Tumba, and look at that. Is that not just the most magnificent setting? He's sitting atop a termite mound at the moment, and he's just watching the ongoings of what's happening. It is beautiful. We've got the dawn colors in the background, and little Tumba just watching what's going on. Wow, that is as special as it gets. And he's probably no more than, I would say, at the moment, 3-4 meters from where we're standing. Or sitting, shall I say. We're not standing, we're in a car, so we wouldn't be standing at all. But look at the pinks behind him. Wow, what a special sighting. You have spoilt us today, Tumba. All of us. All of you at home, and, well, myself and Sebastian too. But you see, he's just sniffing the air a little bit. Now he's going to come down. You'll be able to see just how close he is as he comes down, because he's going to walk in front past the car. There he goes. So that is as good as it will ever get when it comes to a leopard. Thank you. So we've had everything from him today. We've had him stalking, we've had him drinking, we've had him in mounds. The only thing left is for him to climb a tree. Well, and considering that he's moving around all over the place, I suppose that's not too much to ask, actually, at this stage. He seems as though he is going to investigate everywhere, and trees are not beyond the realm of investigation at this stage. Now, Sebastian, just careful your head as we go underneath here. I almost said careful your hair, but it's because Sebastian does have quite long hair, but I didn't really mean his hair, I meant his head. And careful the camera. You good there, Sebastian? Excellent. Now, so it sounds like both James and Brent are having a little bit of a tough time when it comes to a big storm that is coming to the Maasai Mara, and so, well, I think you guys are going to be with me for the foreseeable future, which hopefully you won't mind as we follow little Tumba through the thickets and move around and see where he happens to head off to. He is slowly mobile north, which is fantastic news because he's not then heading out of our traverse, so we'll be able to stay with him. And our patience of sitting with him at the dam and waiting for him to get moving is now paying off because he's now on his way and is slowly but surely walking. And I really want to stay with him because this will give me a lot of insight as to where he moves around. Now, a lot of you wonder about the tracking processes that we do. This kind of thing is a huge part of our tracking processes because as he moves around, I'm able then to see where he walks, and he'll generally follow walking around like this. So it is the perfect place to look and to be able to see what's going on. So hopefully he'll unlock some of the mysteries that is tracking Tumba, because we haven't had a chance to track him too much. And interesting enough, this morning as well was very sort of good to see that he didn't run away from trackers. But before we get into that, look at how those white markings on the tip of the tail and the ears stand out in even this dingy light. You can see it's getting dark, it's getting a little bit on sort of difficult to see, but those two white spots on the ears and the tail really stand out, and so it makes it much easier for him to follow his mom, or for his mom to see him, and for them to be able to follow one another. So those following signals are hugely important and hugely visible, even in horrible, dingy, dark light like what we've got now. Now, unfortunately, we can't really switch into IR just yet because we don't have our IR light on. We got caught a little bit unawares with James and Brent hunkering down. So what we'll do is we'll have to, at some point, hopefully he goes a little bit static and you might see a bit of a wobble on the camera and hear a bit of noise, but we'll put our IR lights on so that I don't have to shine too many lights on Tumba himself. I ideally don't want to make him get full of light and... Okay, so Seb says that we can do it without putting on the lights as long as he's not too far. Well, Seb, the way that he's walking around the car this evening, I don't think we have to worry too much. There we go. So we're going to go into IR now so that we can see a little bit better because it is getting a bit dark for the normal camera. Riedel, you want to know if Tumba is as big as Tundi yet? Most definitely. I think they are of similar size now. I haven't seen the two of them walk together for quite some time, but just looking at him, and I saw Tundi here last night, so it would be, to my eye, that they look very similar. He might be slightly shorter, but I think he's probably weighs more than what she does already. Now off to the Mulawati we go, which is not exactly ideal. Although the good news is that apparently our additions to the Chitwa mast are picking us up loud and clear from there, which means that hopefully we will have much better coverage in the Mulawati. And certainly Chitwa Dam is now no longer going to be the gremlin minefield. We've come guns blazing and we've now chased those gremlins away from that area, so we should be able to spend a lot more quality time at Chitwa Dam without having to worry too much. And the same hopefully will ring true for the Mulawati as well. Monique in London. Hello, Monique. And, well, I actually met Monique a few days ago. Monique was here in South Africa on a trip and she was at Djuma. So, hello, Monique. I hope you had a safe travel home and that you are still on a high from your trip and from being here. And you want to know if Tumba's my favorite leopard. Well, Monique, we shared a sighting together of Tumba when you were here, and yes, he is most definitely my favorite leopard. I absolutely love spending time with him. He is beautiful and, well, he's intriguing. He's always moving, he's always up to something, and so I certainly love spending time with him. He's my favorite of the male leopards, let's put it that way. I think of of the younger generation, Anderson of the older generation, and Tundi of the female generation. Those are my three favorites. Monique and I were talking about the weather, because I always say to her that I hope it's not a bad day in London and that it's sunny and warm, and she always says to me that generally when I say that it's raining. So I hope it's not raining today, Monique, and that you're having a good day. But little Tumba's off on here. What have you spotted? Seems that he spotted something, and I'm so surprised. This has got to be the first time that I've ever spent that long at Twin Dams and we haven't seen an impala come down to drink, or any animal whatsoever. Maybe Tumba's been hanging around all day and the animals just know that there's some sort of predator, and with Tundi being here last night and yesterday afternoon, maybe they're all a little bit cautious of what's going on at this stage, and that's why none came down to drink. But I'm so glad that he's moving north, because, well, it means that probably tomorrow morning, in all likelihood, we might be able to find him again, which is fantastic. Now, for all of you that watch the dam cam, before I forget, because I keep forgetting about this, there was monkeys alarm calling the whole day today around the lodge. There's elephants that have been vocalizing like they've seen something, so I would check the dam cam fairly regularly this evening. You never know, maybe Tundi ended up that side, or maybe there is some sign of another leopard that could be there. I know that Mvula and Tingana were seen yesterday on Arathusa, but you never know. Today's a new day, and they might have already by now crossed back towards Djuma. So good idea would be to watch the dam cam tonight. You never know, you might get lucky and we might get another cat on the dam cam for all of you. In terms of lion updates, no sign of the Nkuhuma Pride yet. Nobody's found them, so I think they've crossed into Manuleti. The Styx Pride is south, directly south of us on the Mulawati, and one of the Birminghams with them, so they're all down that edge. No, don't go over there. You can go on top there and lie down. There we go. Okay, lie down there. No. So for him to go on top, I don't know, Seb, do you want to stay this side or go around the other side? There's not much space on the other side, so I think we're just going to stick with him on this side and try and get round. Although I don't know if I can get round. I keep forgetting now. Sitting down. Light too much, so Seb, I'm sorry if the light bounces around, but there we go, that's better. Now I don't have to worry about the spotlights and shine it into his eyes. The floodlights work a lot better. This is fantastic. You can hear our elephant whinging in the distance again. I wonder if it's the same Ellie that was whinging earlier and complaining. There we go, nice screenshots as well with the dark background. So, Dina, you also were here last week. Hello, Dina. I hope you're well as well. And I see that you got back safely. I've seen lots of your pictures being posted online, and you got some really lovely photographs. And you say, have I noticed the heart-shaped marking on his front leg? Dina, to be honest, I haven't noticed it. If maybe you do have a picture of it, and if you can send it to me, I would love to actually see which leg and where exactly this heart shape is. Doesn't get better than this. He's walking straight towards us and he's going to lie down right there. This is so cool. I can never get tired of this, ever, ever, ever. We really do have the best job in the whole world. Wow. Just when I thought he was going to disappear on us around the other side and I wasn't sure if we were going to follow him, he comes walking straight back to where I am and sits down right next to me, as if to say, well, you know what, you've been patient with me all afternoon, I'm going to just come and give you one last show. Also, he's sniffing around, maybe he can smell his mom on that particular plant. Seb, I'm going to move back just slightly, ever so slightly, just so that we don't have as much shadow on his leg area. Oh, look at that, Seb. That is absolutely spectacular. Now, I might take a little illegal photograph, maybe, just maybe, because, well, it's not going to be every day that we get to see So special. Like I say, it would be nice to have him just sit and recline up there. Now, Aubrey's just wanting to find out where Tumba is, so I'm just going to quickly give him an update so that he knows. Aubrey. Aubrey. Yeah, Aubrey, Tumba's just static now. You know where they put this dagger from the from Tundams on the bank of the Mulawati on the western bank? He's just static on top of this dagger now. No firm now, it's 5-5 visual. Very nice. So there we go. Let Aubrey know, which will help Aubrey, and he's got some photographers with him, so I would be happy to help him and to get him here. And ultimately, the only reason we're seeing Tumba today is because Aubrey and Tax managed to track him down this morning, so we'll repay the favor and just help them out and let them come into the area as well. Oh, look at the size of the paw though as he grooms it. What are you watching around for? Now, for those of you that want a beautiful screenshot, hopefully he's going to open his eye at some point as he grooms, and that will be the business shot for sure. No, he's going to get up now, I think, and maybe potentially move on. Yep, there we go. He's posed enough for us now. He's decided, onward I'm going. Or are you going to sit on top there, rather? No, not sure yet. Yes, that's where we're going to sit, rather. Right, let's try and reposition. Cheryl, you wondering if Tumba and Hosana ran into each other, would they interact? When was it? It was about... She apparently stole the kill from Tumba and Tandi and fed on it, and the two of them watched for a while, and then he had a fill, and eventually Tumba came and he was able to get his fill as well. So they have had an interactive experience already. Now we're not going to be able to get over here, so we're going to have to go back again, which is a bit of a shame. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could get through here, but it seems as though it's all the way. Now, Seb, can you see behind me? Because with this light on, I can't see a single thing. Can I keep turning left? Because I want to turn around straight. So, oh, there we go. That's actually all right, Seb. It's okay. We can stay right here because he's facing us. So nothing wrong with that. There we go. So there's our beautiful boy sitting on top of... No, don't face that way. Now hopefully he'll turn around and face us again. He's almost facing over the back end of this at the moment, just checking to see what's on the other side, which is, I suppose, fair enough. Let's see if he will turn around eventually. But you can see how as the night has fallen, he's got a lot more active. He's listening, he's looking, and he's moving around, and he's gotten himself to a higher position. So since the night has fallen, up onto a mound, up onto this bank over here, where he can then at least have some height advantage to be able to see what's going on. Sky, the reason why they sit and groom themselves so much is because as they walk through this long grass, they tend to pick up things like ticks and mites, and so the grooming is to get rid of all of that. It's to keep the coat in good condition, keep their fur nice and clean, and get rid of any little bits of loose fur as well as any parasites that may potentially be on them, so that they stay as a healthy animal. Too many parasites and they could then potentially get quite ill, so much better for them to actually try and clean themselves as regularly as possible and keep themselves nice and healthy. You'll also find that if they fed on a carcass, there's bits of meat which rots and could potentially cause disease, so it's better for them to actually clean more often than not. I think he's decided that's where he's going to sleep for now. I don't think he's going to move too much just yet, unless there's a sound that stirs him. So if he hears maybe a potential prey animal, or if he hears mom, or if he hears other leopards or potentially lions. That would probably be the only thing that's really going to wake him. I think for now, though, it's going to be more about just relaxing. John, you're asking if I think animals ever get bored. Most certainly. I think especially young animals like this, not so much your antelope species, because they tend to walk all day and they stay with the herds and their mothers, and they tend to move around a lot. But leopards and lions get left in places, and well, they're curious animals, they're exuberant, they're youthful, and if you had a puppy or a kitten, you know they're playful, and they don't like being left for long periods of time, and so they do get bored. You can see it, and sometimes they sit with this little bit of a grumpy face and they wait. Find a carcass and feed, or any of those kind of things. So they do certainly, in my mind, show signs of boredom. It's not to say that they do get bored, but in my mind, that's what I think, is that they most certainly look like they get bored fairly regularly. Little Tumba, you're not going to face us again. I think he's given us such a good show this afternoon that we can't really grumble if he decides not to show his face for a while. Just little ears perking up. Maybe he'll turn his head again. Now, I believe we've got screen freezes once again, so I do apologize. I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, it's just me, so rather than going to the text screen, we will have a few of these little freezes every now and then. Like I say, we are broadcasting this all the way to the Maasai Mara before it's then sent to you guys, so because it's all out in the bush and we're in two very different countries all the way in East Africa, we've got a little bit of a breakup, so I do apologize about that, and hopefully you'll be able to bear with it and still enjoy the beauty that is Tumba on top of his castle in the darkness, and that you'll be as happy as I am to be with him. You can see his breathing rate is slowed right down. It's still a very warm evening for this time of the year. In fact, I haven't even put a jersey on properly yet. And Seb, it's very pleasant, isn't it?
Very.
So I believe you guys can see a heart shape on his left foreleg. Whereabouts, Alice? If you can point it out, or roughly tell me where you can see it. Oh, there it is. I can see it now. Yes, it is a heart. That's awesome. There we go. So from now on, we can identify little Tumba by his heart on his leg. That is very cool. That's awesome. I've never noticed that before, but he has a perfect little heart on his leg there. So there we go. So now, no matter how much we see him, even if we can't see a head and we can see a leg, that will be forever an identifying feature for him, like Tingana with his little smiley face on his shoulder. Tumba's got a little heart. Does Hosanna have anything? I wonder if any of you guys can give me a leg marking for Hosanna. I wonder if the little prince has also got some sort of quirky little marking on his leg that we can use to ID him. Hosanna always just, I don't know why, I can see him from a long way away. He always looks fairly easy. He's got the butterfly on his forehead. That's how I remember him. There's those two markings that if you kind of, or a bow tie is also what I've heard people calling it. But that's the sort of giveaway. But I don't know of any markings on his leg like this that are quirky and quite entertaining. Lovely Laurie, you want to know why we don't chip the animals to make them easier to find? Well, there's a number of reasons for it. The biggest reason for me is that to chip an animal means we've got to interfere in its life. It means that we've got to dart it, we've got to then put it in, and really I don't think that's the way that we should be doing things. At the end of the day, these animals give so much to us as it is. We get to see them, we get to spend time with them. We've built up this relationship of trust where they don't move away from us because we're sitting with them and for long periods, and we don't hurt them and don't chase them away. That I think it would be sacrilege to break all of that by darting them and trying to chip them. Also, it would take away from the whole fun of and the eventual reward when you find an animal. That chipping one would just, I don't know, it would make it feel more like a zoo, and would take away the absolute experience that is a safari and the way that we go about doing things in the world. Certainly makes it that much more worth it than just driving around and going, okay, I'm going to go to the lion now, then I'm going to go to the leopard, then I'm going to go to the cheetah, then I'm going to, that to me is just, I might as well go to a zoo and walk around than to actually be in a wild place where animals are moving, you don't know where they're moving, and it's a chance of luck. That's how I see it. I'm sure other people might differ, but for me, that's the way it should be. These animals their rights and their way of life should come first before any of our wants and desires, and we should most certainly respect their space and their life, not to be able to monitor them constantly by putting chips in them. Where I do have no problem with a chip is in a situation where you've either released animals into an environment where they've formally become extinct and are now being reintroduced, and you need to research and monitor that population to make sure that they're not being poached. Fair enough, got no problem with that. Or in terms of research of endangered animals where there's really limited populations and certain populations are doing better than others, and they research that and they chip them to be able to monitor them in a far better way than tracking finding them. But as far as a safari purpose and as far as what we do on Safari Live, most certainly chipping animals would feel as though we've defeated the whole purpose of it, and certainly defeated the way that we do things. Eric the Poet, you say you think there's a bromance between myself and Tumba. Well, I think it's a one-sided bromance at this stage, Eric. I think it's pretty much all from my side. Tumba doesn't seem remotely interested in me, although he has spent a lot of time, and we were talking about it. It's interesting. I would love to actually know who's had the most sightings of Tumba. I think that we probably, myself and Seb, would probably be the combo that has seen Tumba more than probably any of the other presenters on Safari Live, which is quite strange. I suppose I also do go looking for him more. I try and find him as much as I can, and if there's any track of him anywhere near the area, I certainly try and go and find him. So maybe he likes to spend time around us. He certainly is very chilled around us. So, but I think the bromance at this stage is a bit more of a one-way street than anything else. So I'll just have to take it. I'm sure Ali won't mind sharing for a while. Seb, you've got a bit of a bromance with Tumba as well.
Oh yes, for sure.
Now, I believe some of you are calling him a heartbreaker because of his marking there. Well, I think later in life he's going to be a bit of a heartbreaker. He's certainly going to be popular amongst the ladies if he becomes a dominant male. He's going to be big, he's going to be gold, he's going to have beautiful eyes, and, well, who doesn't like a tall, strapping, tanned man in the lady world? What do you think, Seb? You think the ladies are going to like him? For sure. There's no doubt, is what Seb says.
He's going to be the Casanova of the northern Sabi Sands.
So Seb, in true fashion, in true French romantic fashion, has said that Tumba will be like the Casanova of the Sabi Sands later in life. Well, we'll see, Seb. I think you might be right. So we'll just have to see how that all plays out. Now, Alice, sorry, I was so busy laughing at Seb that I didn't hear your question. So if you can repeat it, and I can't find the radio for FCE either. It's buried under a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you can repeat the question, please. Tony, you want to know how many of the leopards we've named or that we have here at Djuma? Whew, Tony, okay, well, let's go through them. So these are all, let's go through the ones that we see regularly and that have a territory held within the Djuma system. So we've got Tumba and Tandi, first off, since we're sitting with little Tumba. Then we've got Shadow and her cub, her little female cub. By the way, still no updates on Shadow. No one's found her today. I have asked around, but we certainly will keep an ear out, and I certainly will inform everybody as soon as I do know about them. So that's 4. Then we've got Tingana, Mvula. That's 6 in Chila. We've got... now I've got to try and think who else comes onto this area. Hosana Shongile. So that's 9. There's Gajima is 10 to our north. Then we've got potentially Quarantine in Kanyeni, so that's 12. Who else is around? Kuchava, 13. Potentially Anderson. When we traversed Arathusa, we did also see Tiani and Salahesh, which would take us to a whopping total of 16. And that is an area of about 1,200 hectares. So that is not, if you compare it to the Maasai Mara, which is 120,000 hectares, where all those lions occur, to have 16 leopards in 1,200 hectares is a serious density. It is a very, very, very high density, and we are very fortunate that we're in an area like this. And this particular winter has been super good to us. We've had really great sightings of leopard, and I thought we were going to go through a quiet phase when we didn't have Karula, when Karula disappeared. I thought maybe we were going to be in a bit of trouble, but all of those leopards have come to the party at some point. We haven't seen too many sightings of Quarantine or Kuchava or Nkanyeni since we've stopped being on Cheetah Plains, but we do have Thandi and Tumba that have really saved us and have moved into this area and have become a permanent fixture, really, of our safari. We seem to find them every few days, or at least signs of them, and so they're a really special part of the southeastern corner of Djuma, and Shadow has become a very special part of the southwestern corner, and then Hosan and Shangile moving around in the central section. So we've been very fortunate in that regard, and we've got really nice density of leopard. Emriel, you want to know if we've got, if the females are as territorial as the males. Most certainly. So Shadow and Thandi will clash should they come together. Same way as they clashed with their mother Karula. You know, they used to push each other around, and Thandi didn't come into this area, and Tumba didn't come into this area because of that reason. Because Karula was here, she was scent marking, she was vocalizing. Both her daughters knew that this space was taken. Once that stopped, that's what's allowed Thandi and Shadow to push in and to utilize this and to start taking this territory. At the end of the day, this is a good territory to have. Lots of water, lots of prey animals. You've got the Mulawati riverbed, which is perfect leopard habitat and den site places. So you'll find that they are very territorial, and they will try and push each other away. And once a female leopard pushes out her daughter, like in the case of Karula and Thandi, you'll find that that bond is severed straight away, and they will become quite aggressive towards one another in the protection of their area and their resources that they utilize. So it's not only the males in the leopard world, the females are the same as with lions. You'll find female lions will also push other female prides away. Chastity, you're wondering if leopards claw mark trees to mark territory. No, not really, Chastity. They do claw mark on trees just to sharpen the claws and keep the claws in good condition, but not really to mark territory. When they mark territory, they will rub their face, so they'll use a preorbital gland that's just underneath the eyes that marks territory on the actual plant, and then they will also scent mark by the form of urine. So either they're going to scrape their back legs, scent mark on that scraping, and that marking will then soak into the soil and be able to stay there for a longer period of time. Also, some of the urine will be on the feet, and they will then carry that forward, or they're going to spray up onto a bush on the edge of a pathway or a road that another leopard potentially would walk, and then would pick it up and smell, okay, this is where there is another leopard, and that signature will be unique for any individual that uses either their orbital gland or their urine. So no matter what scent they use, it will be a completely different signature for everybody, and they will then be able to work it out. And what's amazing is that these leopards, even though they can't communicate, can work out if it's male, female, is it in heat, is it dominant, is it young, all from that chemical signature through their organ of Jacobson in the roof of their mouth, which is absolutely astounding. It amazes me every time that they can do that. I think little Tumba, you can see he's listening to the car approaching, so we've got somebody joining us finally this evening, which has really been quite amazing that no one's been here. Oh, hello boy. Did somebody wake you up? Oh, you're going to put your head on the other side. You might look over his shoulder now when the car comes, as he's just done. There we go. Now hopefully he's going to... Oh no, he's put his head back again. So I don't think he's going to look over his shoulder again with the light. I think he's happy to have his eyes in darkness and sleeping. Had a quick little look around his shoulder just to check what was going on, and then from there decided, nope, I think it's better in the darkness to face that way. So he then put his head back around, and there we go. But it is absolutely beautiful when he sits like that with his face and that light. Now, I believe a lot of you have been getting incredible screenshots this afternoon, and well, I would imagine not only from Tumba, but from the lion kills that James has witnessed, to the beautiful scenery of the Maasai Mara. It has just been a wonderful, wonderful day. We've been absolutely spoilt by Mother Nature. And particularly this cat. He's been a rock star. Take care, you're asking which leopard snores the loudest. Take care, I have no idea. To be honest, I've never spent enough time around all of them to know who snores the loudest. Tingana has a little snore that goes, and Anderson used to snore quite a bit, but I've never heard many of the others, so I'm not... which one snores the loudest. But it would be interesting to know, wouldn't it? It would be a fun fact to try and work out who actually is the noisiest of the snorers in the leopard world. But look at those eyes in the darkness. Is that not just absolutely wonderful? It is so majestic. Now what I might do is just... there we go. Make it a little bit darker and a bit more contrasty, and Seb's focusing on probably one of Tumba's biggest attributes, which is those beautiful eyes that he has. Wow. Jody, you're asking if I've ever had the pleasure of naming one of the leopards. Jody, I actually haven't, and I tell you why. I've been asked to a few times, but I actually just haven't done it because it's not a huge thing for me. I know that it will be for a lot of other people, but for me, just the joy of actually seeing a leopard is more than having to give it a name. I feel like as long as I get privileged enough to see them and to spend time around them, then for me that's more than enough, and the gift that I get from them is being able to see them. It's not in giving them a name, so that's why I really haven't done it before. I'm certainly not that I'm sneezing at the opportunity to do it. It's just that for me it's okay not to name one and to be able to just enjoy them as an animal that's out here and that I'm fortunate enough to see. So I was involved in... they asked me to try and come up with names for Tiani, for Inchila. In fact, Inchila, Now, True Justice, you say he just... this evening to be able to show all of you just how pretty he is. He is an absolutely wonderful leopard, and he is posing about as well as any leopard could pose to finish up our afternoon. Wow. We are being absolutely spoiled. The fact that he's turned around, he's looking at us with big, bright, big eyes, pink little nose. Oh, you are a special cat, little Tumba. I think we can all safely say that he has given us probably one of the best leopard sightings that we have seen of this particular animal in a long time. Certainly can't think of one that's topped what I've had this afternoon. Just in terms of where he's lay out in the open the whole afternoon. We've seen him looking at birds. He's been curious. He's been busy. It's been a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. And I believe Lou in the Mara agrees with me. Well, Lou, you must have had a fun time in FC this afternoon because, well, you've seen the most incredible lion hunting. You've got a leopard over my shoulder at the moment that's posed beautifully. So it seems as though it's been a good day at the office today for all of us involved. I'm sure Seb's had a fun day as well. We had this... There we go. Incredible, according to Seb. Now, it is that time of the day where we are starting to wind down for the evening, unfortunately, but the Mara, I'm sure, will still be out and about once the storm gets gone and moves away. I'm sure that they'll be continuing moving around there. Is that right, Alice? They are out tonight, aren't they? I think they are out tonight. I'm sure they are. They're out most nights, and there's lots of action going on there, so make sure that you keep an eye out and you watch what's going on in the Mara, because, well, like I say, it's just been so incredible to see what's been happening that side. But you can see little Tumba, I think, is going to reposition himself, maybe move on. It is that time of the day where we are going to say goodbye. And I'm sure James and Brent and Lou and the cameraman up in the Mara would love to have said goodbye, but they are being smashed by a deluge second to none. So from myself and Sebastian, we've had an absolute pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed Little Tumba as much as we have, and we'll see you on the Sunrise Safari.